brought to you by the intermittent wireless connectivity of Bungie Studios. It's Bungie Podcast time.
We're the Bungie Kids with plasma pistols glowing. It's our podcast show with Brian and friends and Frankie.
You're listening to the Bungie Podcast. I think this is number 9, and we have in the studio with us Luke Smith. We have Brian Gerard, and we have our special guest Joe Staten. We might be joined later, but by some other people. But here we go. What's up?
This is the last podcast before we ship.
It is not the last podcast. We are going to keep it going, but this is a big one.
It should regularize a little bit more after the game comes out.
Oh yeah,
hope.
In your magical ideal world that you live in.
We like to keep them on their feet, keep them guessing, though. We don't want to get too predictable.
Keeps the iTunes numbers down, though. We could crush MuggleCast.
But MuggleCast we've already beaten. We've got to beat. Wait, don't tell me those Nazi jerks.
NPR is a juggernaut. I don't know.
It's a behemoth that is crushing us under its wheels, but we must fight back.
We haven't even started our full promotional campaign yet either.
No, they spend billions on advertising.
We got podcast branding coming around with local Carl's Jr. and Hardee's.
Nice.
We're actually just mirroring all the promotional work on the Halo 3 for the podcast.
Right. Wow, that's good.
So we're gonna have a Halo 3.
Luke's working on his own diorama right now.
Yeah, I saw that.
It may not be up to Stan Winston quality, but
is that what all this foam is for? Is Luke's diorama?
The foam
this is our studio.
Oh, it's soundproofing. Nice.
It's actually to absorb standing waves.
Hold on a sec. Wait.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, we just keep throwing money and more money and more money at the podcast.
Literally, though, when I heard that Steve Lopez, our resident sort of audio engineering expert, was going to come in and make this room more official and soundproof, in my mind, I imagined something like I've seen on TV, like a radio studio. I'm looking around now, and there's probably just a dozen pieces of foam just stuck on like a ledge here, a ledge there.
Yeah. To be fair, it's because the boarding that we're building the actual foam onto it hasn't arrived yet.
Oh, okay.
So it is going to end up. It
actually works surprisingly well, but it looks really ghetto.
Once it's not ghetto, we'll take pictures of it and put it up.
Well, I think the loudest noise in the room is definitely the fan on the Mac that you're using to record this thing, right?
I mean, you mean the PC, the Windows XP PC, Windows Vista PC.
Yeah, the Media Center thing.
That's right. That's right, yeah. Our Windows Media Center over there, it's got a loud fan. Know that they have loud fans. Oh, God.
So we have like a ton of stuff to get to, right?
Yeah.
And Frank's on a very short timeline, I heard.
No, Frank's on a very short leash, let's be honest.
I thought your missus was getting a head start on that laundry for you before your next trip.
Luckily she doesn't listen to this, seriously, so we can say whatever we want.
The divorce would be final already if she
exactly.
did.
Well, we got Joe here for a short while, so why don't we kick it over? And I heard we've all been traveling everywhere, lots of adventures to recap, but Joe, I heard's got some cool stuff.
Some of the best adventures.
Traveled the farthest.
Yeah.
Where have you been?
Well, it depends on how you went around the globe, right? I mean, I went to New Zealand, but maybe you went the long way around to Europe. I don't know. But New Zealand was fun. We crashed the Warthog.
Yeah, I heard.
So when I say we, I mean Curtis.
Yeah,
Curtis crashed the Warthog. I drove like a grandmother.
What happened? Why didn't we see footage of you tootling around like the old man from The Simpsons?
Because my footage of driving was totally uninteresting because Curtis was the first Bungie guy in. They gave us the keys, and Curtis floored it.
So yeah, I watched the video.
To the floor first off.
I would never. I mean, I wouldn't even drive a race car that
no, Curtis
fast.
Was insane.
Does it fishtail like it does in the game in real life? Is that what?
Well, no, it's got
test the physics.
Pretty much, yeah. We're trying to roll it. Poor CJ was on the back. We wanted to see if the Marine would actually live.
Can you just flip it? You can just easily just tap it and flip right side it up again, right?
We didn't try that, but I bet that's the way it would work. But there are two things we learned about the Warthog that was cool. One, it would totally be impossible to be a Marine on the back in the 50 cal because the actual centrifugal force or centripetal force of it, it just accelerates you so quickly. There's no way you can hang on and hope to survive.
Well, most of those helicopter gunners are all like strapped in.
They're strapped in, right? They're part of. They actually become part of the the rotating.
Do we still have time
device
to fix that?
It'd be like hold RB to strap Marine in.
Yeah.
Hold RB to unstrap Marine.
Hold RB to make Curtis a suicidal maniac.
But the coolest thing was that Weta actually had built the turret so that it's got the two handles, right, that you can grab onto, and it's got two switches. One of the switches unlocks the turret so it can spin back and forth, and the other switch actually makes the barrel go around, and it shakes the gun belt to make it look like it's actually being fed through. So you could unlock the turret and swing it and lock it off and spin the barrels around, make little rat-tat-tat noises.
Do you guys have any fake blood spray or anything?
The Warthog had fake blood, fake bullet holes. We didn't actually have any on us, but if we did, we'd totally use it. We'd throw it around like gallons of ketchup.
Is it safe when you're a passenger and that thing's like spinning above your head?
Yeah, it seemed like it, but it wasn't tossing hot brass, so we didn't really test that part of it either.
Nothing like tossing hot brass in a wet New Zealand afternoon.
Is that your kissing up to Don Matrix joke this week?
No, I don't have any jokes. Don Matrix is a brilliant thinker and a great mind. I admire him, and I'm glad he's on board.
But the other thing we learned about the Warthog was that, they built it so it could be a rock crawler, right? So it could have a sort of independent four-wheel suspension, but you can drive in, I think, two-wheel drive, and then you had the four-wheel steering, and then you had crab mode. And crab mode was awesome because basically, instead of the wheels turning opposite directions in four-wheel drive, they all turned the same way, so the front and back would both turn to the right. So you could sort of slide sideways like a crab, basically just drive.
Or do some like really tight donuts and stuff.
Yeah. And the reason why Curtis crashed is, of course, the four-wheel steering was on, and he didn't realize that basically makes the car turn at the center point rather than the ass coming around. So he just totally.
No.
Right?
That's bullshit. So if you watch the video, Curtis starts off close to the wall, guns it as fast as he can, and smashes into a wall.
But
with very little modification. Fair enough, there was some vagary of turning involved, but let's face it, what he started doing is what caused that, not what ended up happening when he turned the steering wheel.
That's true. Just the four-wheel steering. It didn't help him out of an already bad situation.
Here's my thing, right? So if I was at Weta Digital and like driving around in their parking lot in their custom-built Warthog that was hours of craftsmanship and artistry, and I smashed it into a wall, or as Curtis called it, the illogical piece of geometry. He did. He said made up like it shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
But I would not have the most giant shit-eating grin of all times on my face when I stopped the car. I would be like, oh no.
I think that was nerves. I think that was nerves. Because seriously, another like 6 inches over, that whole little lean-to would have been like splinters all over the parking lot.
And it looked like it was full of explosives as well, or gasoline or something.
It looked like a little still where they were making alcohol. But there was a guy there, one of the guys that had either worked on it or was sort of just managing where the Warthog was. And his SUV, like a really nice new SUV, was parked in the parking lot not very far away from where Curtis had crashed it. And so for the rest of the driving experience, we were doing very careful sort of donuts around his SUV, and he got progressively more and more nervous. But I mean, they were all really good sports. And
Did Bertone
really
drive
fun.
it? Because he's apparently a highly acclaimed driver himself.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Bertone used to drive Humvees for the 82nd Airborne,
so
right?
Did he represent and do some amazing things in the Warthog? Or
even Paul
not so
was
much?
a little bit. I mean, he made the most laps, and on the final lap, he was going pretty
just
fast.
Too much car for anyone to handle.
He made the most laps.
Yeah.
He really stepped it up.
Yeah, but no, we were all pretty... Well, let me put it this way. After Curtis nailed the building, all of us got a lot calmer with the way that we drove.
A lot more careful. And
Yeah.
You guys didn't want that to be the beginning of the discussions?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, I know one of the questions everyone really wants to know is how eco-friendly is that vehicle? Is it a green car, would you say, or...
It's definitely green,
Khaki
but its
green.
miles per gallon or liters per gallon is pretty poor here.
Okay.
Well,
Less
the funniest
than
story
one?
was that...
Low emissions.
Yeah. The Richard Taylor, the guy that runs Weta Workshop, he said that on the shoot, it was a really muddy day. It ran for the shoot for Neil's shorts. It rained for 2 weeks straight, and they finally got 2 days of sunshine to actually shoot this thing. And they moved the Warthog out to the mud pit where they basically were going to do the filming. And it wouldn't get out of the mud from a dead start. Hey, who let the old people in?
Oh my God! It just turned into Golden Girls.
If we had a high-priced studio, we'd have a red light outside right now, flashing, saying on air.
Guess who just stepped in the studio?
Somebody asked to talk to me today, but instead you got Joe.
Joe
Did you go to New Zealand and drive the Warthog? Oh, darn.
That was Marty O'Donnell,
Want me
folks.
to come back at some point? Or?
Yeah, well, I'll come
This
down
is
and
a
get
big
you.
star-studded guest show.
It's the last one before lunch, Marty.
A lot of segments today.
Bring beers next time. You can get in faster. That was Marty
actually,
O'Donnell.
It would be great to have Marty come back and give his perception of our last trip.
What was the last trip?
We were down in Las Vegas doing some stuff.
Yeah, that's
We'll
right.
get to that, but Marty made it pure comedy gold. Anyway, sorry for that rude interruption there, Joe.
Oh, no, I expect it from Marty. So we were... snap. We were down there, and the Richard Taylor said that it wouldn't start from the mud.
Right.
It wouldn't actually get out of the mud. And so they slapped on the largest supercharger in all of the Southern Hemisphere onto the Warthog. So
That's it. Shouldn't they have just tried chains first? No, they'd go straight into the engine and upgrade it.
No, they slapped on a supercharger.
Warthogs don't get stuck in the mud.
I know it didn't. After they slapped on the supercharger, it was jumping out of the mud like a little frog.
You know, speaking of Neil Shorts, do we know anything about when the last one's supposed to
third
be
one?
released, or when people might see that? By the time this podcast is released, will that short have been shown?
Well, I know he was supposed to be done
launch.
with it at the end of last week,
Okay.
or thereabouts. So I haven't seen the final version yet.
True
but
or
we should be
false? It's
getting
the best one ever.
Oh, they can.
true.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
It's,
When we were down there, we were actually fiddling around with the props that they'd made for the shorts. Awesome.
Like that one prop
Yeah.
that guy picks up and throws?
Yeah.
Nice.
That was good. Yeah.
Huh.
it was good times.
Did you get to fly that thing that flies by in that one shot?
Yeah,
Oh,
they
they built
had
that?
it totally built.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Flew great.
Did you let Curtis fly it?
Yeah, we let him fly it first. It didn't fly so great after that.
Yeah.
But it was a good trip. It was good.
So you guys were down there working on what? You weren't making movies with Neil Blomkamp?
Nope. We were down there doing the Chronicles thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if we've called
That's
it
a
Chronicles.
code name. It's out there, but it's just a code name.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
So
we-
yeah, the PJ project we're working on, Peter Jackson project.
You call him
and
PJ right to his face, right? You get up on his grill and you're like, "What up, PJ?"
Do you call him Mr. Jackson?
I call him Peter respectfully, as do everyone. As
Not
does
like
everyone on Chronicles.
Peta or Petey.
No, I call
or
him
P
Peter.
Dog?
Have you ever asked him
Yeah.
about the adventures of Pete and Pete?
No.
Old Nickelodeon show?
No, we generally just mind our P's and Q's around Mr. Jackson.
You mind your Pete's and Q's?
Yeah.
No, I mean, so those guys were crazy busy getting prepared for their shoot of Lovely Bones in the States. And
Right.
so we went down at a time where they were really slammed. And I mean, despite how busy they were, it was probably the best week we spent with them in terms of getting stuff done and
Yeah,
laying
could
down the plans.
Could see in the videos of you getting drunk, tooling around in a parking lot in a Warhawk. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody.
Good work there.
There's
Everyone
about
looked like they were,
110 guys
really
back here
friendly.
that are a little bit jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, true
I feel
or
bad about
false,
that.
like we can go on a business trip to Cleveland to deliver a disc, and when we get back, people are sort of jealous.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Bungie guys like to travel, so we're getting a bunch of them are all over the world this
Right
month.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're all traveling.
Big shout out to our underground army.
There was some serious Halo 3 signage in Wellington, New Zealand.
Really?
Seems like they're looking forward to
Really?
it. Yep, there was.
Was there any pictures of Chris Butcher? Any monuments erected to him?
Well, they have the statue in downtown Wellington.
Okay.
That's
Of
like
course, right.
40 stories tall.
He's like, when he returns
Yeah.
home, he's like a prophet.
yeah, yeah.
It's true. I
There's
heard
parades and
Yeah.
Yeah. It's true.
what a legend.
Prophet of Kiwi.
But they're ready for it. Kiwis are ready.
that. So you got one other thing going on, I heard. Some exciting news about your other little side
How's
project you've been
how's
involved
that
in?
novel coming along, Joe? Hmm?
Novel's good. Hitting the presses.
Oh.
Rolling now. Big presses rolling.
Have
with
you
the
have you got
printing.
one yet?
No,
Did-
I haven't got one yet. Should get one this week.
Are you excited? Is the first thing you're gonna do when you get your own book is autograph it?
Yeah.
To yourself.
Will you sign me? I would. All jokes aside, I would like a signed copy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I can make that
I have all
happen.
the Nyland books signed by Nyland, so I'd like to add to my collection.
Oh, I got to do that.
Have you had anybody external read it and give you, like, someone that you really trust, just lay it down on the line for you?
I gave it to my wife, but she's not done with it quite yet.
Oh, that could
Yeah,
be,
I spoke to your wife about it. her exact words were, and they were the same. You know, they're like I warned her about this because
Why were you talking to my wife while I was in New Zealand?
Well, I was whispering to her.
That's fine. She likes
I didn't
whispering.
want to wake up the kids. Anyway,
Oh, no.
anyway, so I warned your wife it's hard sci-fi, right? And so she's like, "Well, I'll still read it." I'm like, "Okay, but there's going to be anyway. Just read it and judge it." Anyway, she read it or a bit of it,
Yeah.
and she's like, "I got to the end of chapter 1, and I could tell that it was really well written by a good writer who writes well, but I could care less about your spaceships and your Marines and your fighting." She's like, and she admitted that what she wanted to read about was a tale of redemption of a Chinese orphan girl who grows up in the foothills of Tibet. And
Are you
meets her.
sure you're not confusing my wife with your wife?
I did. That's why I had to whisper to not wake up your children. I already. But anyway, like neither of our wives could care less about sci-fi.
So they clearly never got to the Shaw Fujikawa subplot.
No, but they did. But they did skip to the sexy scene, sexy times, sexy scene.
Don't give away the sex scene.
Joe's already talked about this.
He talked about how you can use the word
okay.
Yeah.
Well, then trump it up if I've already talked about it.
It's hard sexy. No, to Joe's point, if you don't know what sex is, you actually won't know there's a sex scene going on.
That is the best.
Is that the best way? Is that the best compliment you've ever received about
so.
sex?
Let me read it. I've got some of it here. Let me just read you a paragraph from it here. So you remember, like, if you don't know what sex is, you won't know this is sex.
Wait,
Johnson unzipped his pants. No, wait a minute. No, it is actually. It's very subtle, and it's not. It's PG rated. It's weird.
It's
Do
a
you know
capper.
when it actually comes out?
The 30th of October.
Oh.
Yep. So it should be ready to go if you pre-ordered it, or I guess
Wow,
if you walk into a
it's
bookstore.
going to be that hard to get?
Yeah.
Is there,
Is it going to be Midnight Madness?
You definitely got to pre-order it if you want
get
it.
it from
you
7-Eleven.
have 3 SKUs of it, right? The Legendary Edition.
Limited, which has no ending. And
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
When Joe do that for his second book, right?
Oh, wow, you guys are just.
Why are you so harsh? All I'm doing is claiming that I sleep with his wife. See, everyone involved in this is going to beat me up. So readers should be.
I'm looking forward to it, I got to say, personally, and I'm sure you'll do an appearance here somewhere around, maybe local. You'll be available on the launch to meet some fans,
they're figuring
sign
that
some
out now.
copies. Maybe at the Comic Dungeon downtown.
That'd be nice.
Okay.
Well, apparently there's something happened on the 25th of September that they want to avoid in terms of promotion.
I thought you just want to ride that wave all the way, milk it.
Well,
Everyone walks out with a copy of Halo. Have you picked up this novel yet?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm not a promotion expert.
You want to stand out there in the Prophet of Truth costume, or
What are you saying about his physique? Why can't he be the Master Chief?
Yeah. Thanks for making the wizened chin ball
Yeah,
wear
good job.
guy. Yeah, that's nice.
You didn't say what.
Actually,
you
no,
did.
they're it's called a wattle. A wattle.
Well, now they know what you meant by that other thing you said. Anyway, yeah. So you
it's
should
coming
get
out. It's coming
Halo
out.
3 limited edition 360 legendary helmet and a copy of Joe's book.
Yes.
Contact Harvest. Did we even name it? Is this the first time we named it?
The cover jacket's been out there for a while.
No, but I
Remember,
mean,
Joe
in
was
this
signing
podcast,
flats
I
at
mean.
Comic-Con.
I mean,
Yeah.
today.
no? That was the,
No,
that,
we
that was the
never
first
did. We just
actual
called it
plug
Joe's book.
that the book got.
Yep. Halo Contact
The
Harvest
exciting
by
conclusion
Joseph
to
Staten.
Halo the Flood.
Yeah, exactly.
Fans' all-time favorite Halo novel.
But if you'd like to read about Chinese orphans fleeing to Taiwan, this probably isn't the book for you, right, Frank? Is that what you're saying?
That's how I interpreted it. What is supposed to be going on in your book? I will say this: me and Rob McLeese, who were tasked with like the kind of like story Bible canonical checking of it. We were scared because like we know Joe's a good writer, but what if he couldn't write a novel? So we were waiting for the first draft really nervously because we're like, we got to tell him if it sucks.
And I've heard the way you guys give feedback.
Oh my God, yeah, I know we're harsh, but then it was just a joy. And even in secret conversation, Rob and I have nothing but nice things to say about it.
Wow,
So
that's huge.
the true mark.
it is really good. I enjoyed it better than some other books I've read.
Some other books.
I don't want to say it's
Is that
the
on
best.
the back of the dust
I
jacket?
don't wanna say it's the best.
Frank O'Connor.
I've
Advanced
enjoyed it
praise
better
for
than some
Contact
other
Harvest.
books.
No, I didn't want to say that I like it better than the Eric Nyland's or Dietz's books because you got to love all your children, right? You know, but it was my favorite one so far. I'll be honest.
Wow. There
Wow.
you go.
Wow.
Glowing review.
Yep.
Oh, thanks,
Well, I look
Frank.
forward to reading it. I feel I'm behind now. Have you read it yet, Luke?
No, I'm behind as well.
This weekend we need to hit the
Paper
books
copies. As soon
hard.
as I get paper
tried to
copies,
get your,
signed copies for all you guys.
I tried to get your wife to skip forward to the part where I thought she'd get engaged with the ice. You know what I mean? But she wouldn't do it. She just wouldn't do it.
I have no idea what Frank's
Whoa, I don't
talking about.
either. All right.
Gah.
All right. Well, sign copies all around, and you know what? We'll make sure we pull one out and give it to one of our lucky listeners.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
There you go, right there. First ever podcast giveaway.
But what are
Coming
you
soon.
saying? He said that he's trying to avoid September 25th. What happens then again?
What happens?
New podcast comes on?
I will probably wake up in a ditch.
Because you'll have fallen off of the party bus.
The party bus, or we will all be arrested.
Yeah.
You guys are in, everyone here is in Seattle except me on next Monday night.
You can't
right?
well, no, I guess we'll have a permit for those buses, so I guess we'll be all right.
Yeah.
Well, we should get to that in a little while when Joe, I know Joe's a busy man.
Did you guys want me to go down and get Marty? Because
That'd
he
be
seemed
great.
like he was really eager to come up and
I guess.
and
I know he
promote stuff.
He doesn't have as long to live as we do, so
Yeah, you're right.
He's got to fit it
We
in
need
when
to
he can.
capitalize. All the hoopla on the 25th could put him over the top
I know.
health-wise.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's kind of frail, and actually Marty was with me this past weekend, so we could certainly recount that adventure together.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Let's go get Marty.
We'll take a quick break?
No, we don't need to take a break because
We
while
can
Joe
keep
gets
going.
Marty,
Talking.
Yeah.
Frank's
Frank and
only
I will
got
talk about the
26
review
minutes
events.
left,
Yeah.
so let's keep the show rolling.
Okay, well, hey, when I leave the highly sophisticated studio, make sure you play that sound of effect of a sliding door opening and shutting.
Yeah,
okay?
well, right
Do
now.
we
It's
have
one
a
of those.
Star
It's one of
Trek
those pressurized doors, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get ready to cue the sound effect, Luke.
All right,
Thanks,
cue the
Joe.
sound effect.
It's like one of the doors on the Storm, actually, when you go inside the warehouse.
Yeah, well, we
true.
could have used the sound effect from bass that we played on.
What's bass?
It's O2O.
It's not called bass. It's called Crow's Nest.
Yeah, see, we
Oh.
talked about it.
We have?
Yeah,
Oh, because we haven't ever
because
shown
we
or,
used
or
the
revealed
sound
anything
effect on
about
Bungie Net.
it. Oh, we did.
Yes, and we said what it was.
Oh.
Crow's Nest is first level. You're going to get gangbanged by brutes. let's be honest. Everyone's like, all the
It is
levels
true.
introduce something. They're like, Jungle introduces weapons and basic game mechanics, and Salvo Highway introduces vehicles, and the Crow's
Yeah.
Nest introduces
Triple
chronic
penetration.
abuse.
Just
Yeah.
a shitload of brutes. You're right. That's what it is. Or an ass ton of brutes.
Speaking of that room at the review event last week in New York, I watched a reviewer from I don't know if it's a reviewer if you're not playing through the whole game, a journalist from
A previewer.
yeah, maybe a previewer struggling at that exact first gangbanging encounter in base. And I had to be brought in to beat it for him.
Oh, God. I knew that
Oh,
was
really?
coming up.
But this wasn't a review event.
No, this was in New York.
Hey,
No, so they yeah.
weren't you thinking about offering that up? Like, if anybody was having trouble at home beating the game, they could send you a message over live, and they
No.
could hire you to cooperatively
No.
push them through.
Oh,
Unavailable.
I've heard you. Like, that old show when I grew up, there was this old show called My Bodyguard where this little puny kid, hired a big badass.
I'm the Kevin
I-
Costner to the internet's Whitney Houston.
I could see that. I could totally see that.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. As is, I think I'm changing my gamer tag. I'm getting too
Really?
many messages. Yeah, I'm just changing it. And then
Well, you need to have one that you maintain for your public-facing Bungie recommends
Yeah.
hump day purposes, and then
Yeah.
one that's on the DL.
Yeah,
for-
I
So
need a new one.
speaking of having to change your gamer tags, just found out mine's the third most popular gamer tag on the whole interwebs.
well, why don't
Really?
you say it now and make it the second most popular?
How do you
I don't
how do you
want to
check?
self promote just to beat Major Nelson.
How do you check? This sounds like a competition.
Now, I think
The
somebody
Xbox Live
commissioned a
figured it
report
out.
of it.
Yeah.
One of the guys that's number 1 or number 2 commissioned the report.
Yep.
Oh, Major Nelson.
I don't know.
Well, actually, we don't know who, but and we don't even know what criteria they
Frankie
used.
was kind of
Third most popular.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
not
it's
bad.
from that Frankie Goes to Hollywood band. Personally, I
Really?
think it's a
You
coincidence.
think that people were just half my messages just say relax?
Half of them do, right?
No, I wish they did.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I announce the arrival of Martin O'Donnell of O'Donnell Salvatore.
Thank you.
Marty, this is one continuous show. We don't do takes here or cuts.
No,
We
no.
don't have that kind of
all organic,
ability,
yeah.
so it's just raw
Wow, this
from
mic
the
is
hip.
this mic is very short.
You
What-
got to
who
get
was
up
here
on it,
before
though.
me?
Pull it up.
Jump
We
on
had
it.
Joe Staten was here
Oh,
before.
no wonder.
He was representing the Lollipop
We
Guild.
won't make this count as your official appearance, Marty. This is just a guest segment. You'll have your full show.
Yeah, we're gonna have a piano.
when the time comes.
Okay, good.
When we
Seriously.
celebrate the Halo 3 soundtrack, perhaps. If
Halo
that happens,
3
we'll bring you back.
soundtrack. I think how do I sign over there, Mr. Earphones?
You need to get way closer. You have to sit uncomfortably low.
Oh, would you like a beverage? It is tradition, but
I do have a.
oh,
A talking rain.
Talking rain because we have beer.
I know I see that.
you got
We're
some
grown-ups.
Ovaltine?
What'd you say?
Nothing. We're
It
good.
never gets
I
old.
know.
I don't know how to put the chair down.
Well, so while Marty's getting situated, maybe I'll tee
Test,
Marty up
test.
with something fun to talk about. We just got back from one of many trips. We were down in Las Vegas,
Yeah.
Sin City, representing Halo 3. What do you got going on there?
Oh, this is a secret
It's a
trick.
stand. for his
Marty
mic.
can
Oh,
see
that's
firsthand
right.
how
Mic.
high tech this booth
Yeah, it's
is.
pretty
okay?
good.
You see what our soundproofing solution is.
No, this looks good. I see the stuff in the corner and little things around the room.
No standing waves.
It's good.
This is what your room looks like, right?
Yeah, almost exactly.
This is how you make the Halo magic happen.
Halo magic room, just like this.
Okay.
Complete with bottles.
And look, you guys got Pro Tools sitting over there. That's
I know.
ridiculous.
Luke's been learning how to get full time. This is big, the real deal.
Good.
You heard we cracked the top 14 or so on
That's
iTunes,
what I heard.
right?
That's what I heard.
Marty's a non-believer at this point.
That's
fine.
true. But this could put it right through the roof.
Totally.
This is just changed everything.
I mean, you have Joe and Marty on the same
all
show.
I'm putting in the description
And we're
is
just getting
Marty.
warmed up. This is our last
bring
show
us
before the
down.
game launch.
Yeah, this is the big one.
This is it.
By the time people hear
All right.
this, we're just days away from launch.
Oh, that's incredible.
They're Twitter-pated with
Are we?
excitement.
We're launching. Coming up.
A week-
25th.
The game
Oh,
launches
game
a week
comes out
from
next week,
tomorrow.
Martin.
Well, I still have more work to do. Wait a minute.
No, I hope not.
No.
Oh, so that was all placeholder?
It was all
Oh,
that explains it. Yeah.
I've been using custom soundtracks.
sweet.
Works great for me.
Yeah, no, I'm just listening to like
Okay.
Pink and
Actually, after our Vegas weekend, I've been listening to a lot of Crunk and stuff
Crunk.
like that.
oh,
Now
yeah,
I listened
that's
to
right.
Little John.
Yeah.
Little John?
Yeah.
Isn't it I think
And
it's
Yin
Lil.
Yang.
And who else did you meet?
I met Eve.
And you met Paul from Fall Out Boy?
Paul from Lazy Boy. Yeah, that was
Marty's with it. He's down.
I told you that
Down.
story, though, right? That's
Yeah,
exactly how
yeah,
it went.
yeah.
Hey, who's that guy?
Let's,
that's
let's
Pete Wentz.
clarify because Pete Wentz, he's a big
Yeah.
listener. So Pete, props to.
I
Fall
love
Out
Pete
Boy.
Wentz. He was a lot of
But
fun
that's
to
how it
meet.
was. We're there on stage
Yeah.
unveiling this awesome wax Master Chief, which, by the way, is, I think, one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
I totally
Huge
agree.
hands, huge applause to those guys.
Right.
They worked their ass off to make that.
Right.
Pete Wentz came to sort of help inaugurate this unveiling, and
Which, of course, makes a lot of sense to me.
he's a fan.
No, that's fine.
Loves the
Marty's
Halo.
like, hey, who's that guy?
Do I sound
Hey,
sarcastic?
that's Pete Wentz from Fall Out Boy. They're a big, huge, acclaimed band. They sold millions of records. A minute later, Marty walks up. Hey, Paul, I'm Marty from Bungie. True story.
Just want him to know where his
Actually,
place
though,
is.
his speech he gave to the press was the best because he gets up on front of the stage and he's like, I was going to get up here and talk a lot about Halo and Xbox, but truth of the matter is I was out till 5 a.m. and I'm still annihilated. So I like Halo. Go live.
See,
Nice.
he was annihilated.
That's
That's
nice.
why he doesn't remember anything I
He
said.
stayed on
which is fine.
message.
But
Which
the
is
guy
why
made
we
a lot
keep
of money.
telling the story now, so then
Yeah.
he'll remember it.
Did
That's
you
great.
choke slam him? I can see you just like the Undertaker, just lifting up this skinny little emo guy and choke slamming.
No, from
slamming
one
him.
musician to
Oh,
another. They
you
had a
know,
connection.
You guys make fun
Marty's
of
so
emo. I like
open-minded.
emo.
Marty's
Why?
open-minded for music.
Emo at least has some melodies in
You
it.
came back
chord
and listened.
changes.
True or false? You actually looked up some Fall Out Boy after that
I did.
meeting and you listened
I
to
did,
some songs.
and I liked it.
And-
There's
oh.
some very nice
It's
stuff.
not bad. It's good
Yeah.
stuff.
I thought you were against the rock and the roll and the hip and the hop and the
I-
jibbity jive.
It's the hip and the hop I'm still struggling with.
Yeah,
as you
Marty
know.
can't rap, can't
that-
rhymes, got no rhymes, can't bust nothing.
I could bust a rhyme maybe like the Flight of the Conchords does. I like their
Oh, Marty's
hippopotamus or whatever
fair-
that one is.
rhinoceros.
Yeah. Well, no, but the other guys, the
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
hip hopotamus.
What is that?
It's the Flight of the Conchords. It's New Zealand's
What? Oh, my
third
gosh,
biggest
Brian.
export after Peter Jackson and, of course,
Chris Butcher.
Chris Butcher.
I don't
Chris-
think I've heard that.
I think it's Chris C.J. Butcher.
Man, we just got
Oh, wait.
guests.
You know
oh my
what?
God, it's like
Guest
Bungie All
appearance
Stars.
galore. It
Paul,
is.
Paul Bertone just came in.
I believe, Paul, you were on the last podcast, and I don't think
We're
you need
not
to
we're
come
not
in
quite
and,
ready for your segment yet. Marty invited himself into the agenda today.
Joe told me that Marty was done.
No,
He just meant creatively.
oh yeah,
That's my misunderstanding.
yeah.
I can't believe somebody walks in the middle of my interview. That's so rude.
Why don't you have your people talk to his
I
people?
will. My people are going to take care of his people.
Hey, by the way, speaking of people, you had somebody here the other day with you. I saw walking around.
Oh, yes, that's
Who was
right.
that?
Wow, I almost forgot.
It's
That's how
too
bad
bad
it
we
is.
missed that
Correct.
opportunity
No,
to
he
have
could
him on
have
the
been
show.
here. I mean, think about that.
Well,
It's
we
like-
didn't miss the opportunity to get him a sign shit, though.
He did. He signed
Yeah.
a couple of things, which is unusual.
It
So
was-
to get
it
an
was
actual
Who was here?
Marty
who?
O'Donnell and Mike Salvatore's signature on
Mike
one
Salvatore.
thing. It's very cool.
The better half of O'Donnell Salvatore.
Yeah,
He's the actual working half.
He's the
yes.
Amadeus to your what's his bucket? no. The,
Salieri.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
almost the same name. Oh my God.
Whoa. Yes.
Falco.
were you
Oh.
were you even born for Falco?
No, I picked it up late.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
During my ironic high school years.
Interesting.
So what else is new, Marty?
Yeah, so Mike was here. We were actually working on the Halo 3 soundtrack.
Talk to us
Exclusive.
about it.
So it's going to come out.
Yes.
There will be one.
There will be one,
And
absolutely.
give us some dates.
There are no dates.
What can you tell us about it?
I can tell you that I made the decision again to
here
do
we go.
something similar to the Halo 2 Volume 2 soundtrack.
What, delay it endlessly?
Yeah, that just the pent-up demand for that soundtrack
Yeah.
was so huge. We went right through 20, 30 copies in a few weeks.
You're doing vinyl only this time, right?
Vinyl only. It's for people who want to do some scratch.
So what can you tell us about it, seriously?
So the attempt to make sure that this will remind people what it was like to play Halo 3. So
Right.
they'll hear the music essentially come in and be reformed the way it was when they played the game.
Right.
So rather than just sort of like, music moments that happen, it's going to feel like you're walking through the whole game. So that's what we did with Halo 2 Volume 2, except that we had some of the cool pieces were on Halo 2 Volume 1, so I couldn't use them again. So it wasn't really...
So this is going to be your perfect creation, right, soundtrack-wise?
Yes, the thing I
Magnum
always
opus.
wanted to do. Right, exactly.
But so can you give us even?
Wait, what was that? Who didn't turn off their phone?
That was my Halo ringtone.
It better not
Have a
be.
phone with me.
Okay.
Yeah, you want some money for that?
Yeah, there's somewhere.
But what is your rough timeline?
I'm really hoping that I'll be done literally within a couple of weeks.
In time for the holidays?
Oh, good. So
So
just
great
after
stocking
launch.
stuffer.
Great stocking
Now,
stuff.
what about virtual
For all
stocking
those Halo
stuffer?
3 fans that picked up the game or are going to pick up the game, this is a perfect compliment
What about our
to the gift that keeps
what
on
about
giving.
our cyber stockings? What about iTunes and whatnot?
iTunes, I'm sure that'll happen there too.
But faster this time, because that's
I
like
hope
people
so.
get antsy for that. They don't
Yes.
like objects and discs and whatnot.
No, I agree. Well,
Have you given any thought to like a hidden podcast track? Maybe the podcast theme song? I mean,
a new podcast theme
A
song,
new,
yeah.
yeah.
we
No,
need,
I would
you
like
know,
to.
we've
I'd
been
like to
talking about
correct
that.
this concept or the statement that I heard you guys say the other week, where it's like Marty owns the Flintstones vitamins jingle and he can just give it away willy nilly.
That's what
When
you
did we
said.
say that?
I don't know.
I think
Somebody
it's probably
said it.
something
I think
Frank
we
said.
probably
You're
mentioned
probably
it.
just bitter because you heard we were working with Jan Hammer for the for the next podcast.
I would love
theme.
to meet you.
We've been talking about it.
He's cool.
We might be due for a little refresh
Yeah,
there.
we might have to refresh.
Yeah, something different.
So I don't own the theme. I did write it, and as a matter of fact, Mike and I went.
You told me
over-
we had full approval to use it. So,
Yeah, sure. There you go.
so we better change it
Guess
before
we're
we
going
get
to
too
jail.
big or we're in
Yeah.
trouble.
No, I would love to see us get sued. That'd be so much fun.
Oh no, Marty, shut up! Come
You're
on.
totally
Anyway.
new to litigation, right? You'd like to try it? You heard it's cool?
No, I mean, how would they win a case like that? It's a parody. Come on.
Yeah,
I don't
it is.
know.
It is. We're a parody of
Look
ourselves.
at you guys
so
are
could
getting
it not be?
nervous already.
No, man.
Jeez,
It's
wimps.
your problem.
Okay.
Hey, I wanted to have a user contest where people do their own song parodies for the podcast and send them in
I
to
still
us.
think it's fine.
And I was told
I
that
still say
we're
go
forbidden
ahead.
from doing
Oh,
that.
that's
Verboten.
ridiculous.
We have counsel looking into it.
Counsel.
Yeah.
I love lawyers, though.
6 months and like $1 million later, we'll have our answer.
See, this is
Probably
the
no
trouble when you get
contest.
too big for your britches like Bungie
I
is
know.
now. I know.
It is.
Give me a break.
So speaking of big britches,
Yes.
your
Wait a
your
minute.
soundtrack for the game
Yeah. Okay,
Uh,
we're back to that.
is any good?
You haven't heard it yet, Frank?
Frank hasn't quite played
Sounded
the
like
game all the
German
way
techno.
through.
Oh, he hasn't.
Yeah. German techno.
German techno.
There is a little more. There is a little more techno in the game, I think, than I had in the past. It's just
I agree.
the way it turned
Yeah,
out.
but there's also some real like sort of forward-thinking tribal stuff. I think you're actually ahead of the curve for that scene
Head
right
of the
now.
curve.
I
yeah.
do.
Do you? Okay, thanks.
One of my favorites is the
Which is
scary
weird
music.
because you told me
What?
that you actually operate in a bubble and that you refuse to be influenced by what's popular in modern day music. You mentioned that to me because I told you
Yeah.
that maybe
no,
we
here's
should,
what I say.
we should pull you aside, have you
Well,
listen to some crunk and some
Yes,
hip hop.
exactly.
And
No,
sort
what
of,
I say is that Bungie should be creating culture. We shouldn't be influenced by culture.
You're right, and I think it's admirable that you can isolate yourself that
But-
capably that you include your clothes and hair. I think it's amazing.
Now we should explain to people that I did get a semi haircut.
No, you're
Yeah,
seriously
you did.
like we've got photographs of you going through the process. It's like stop motion of somebody.
but he didn't
Kicking the bucket.
He didn't do what he was supposed to do though.
No,
Is it
The
Mohawk?
mullet face? No, he was
No.
supposed to get a
You're supposed
mullet
to get a mullet.
on like the first day and
Yeah.
then go back and have the mullet chopped
Yeah.
off.
See, my wife said, even if you have a mullet for 30 seconds, I'll divorce you.
And she would know.
Yes.
Even if you just did it at work.
But
you
didn't
would
she?
see
would
it.
know. No, because you know
wasn't
what?
she originally drawn to you with the mullet?
No, actually, the mullet came way into our marriage. You know how long we've been married? Somebody take a guess how long we've been married.
22
100
years.
years.
50 years.
All right, thanks, Brian. Yeah.
I said 22. I
Well,
was
okay,
conservative.
based on your
No, I
wife,
don't know.
20 years max. Based on you, 100 years.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't mean. Sorry, Marcy. I didn't mean to say 50.
30 years.
Wow.
Wow, good God.
Yeah, there you go.
How old are you now, Luke?
I'm 26.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Are you only 26?
Yeah, I'm 26.
That I quit.
Yeah, you should quit.
No,
'cause
actually,
people are
working for
younger than
Bungie,
you.
yes, I know, but working for Bungie does keep me young, at least mentally.
Oh yeah, of course.
As
true.
a child.
And now that we've cut the summer pentathlon competitive gaming part, then the physical aspects are going down the hill.
Absolutely.
Oh, well.
What keeps you young?
Here's a guy like Luke. Here's 26.
Right.
His cultural influences are completely different than mine.
Right.
But we can still have a very intelligent conversation when I go back to my childlike state.
When we talk about things like...
Insert a lot of,
So what
insert
you're
a lot
saying-
of LOLs and
What you're
cat
saying-
names and...
What you're saying is that Luke keeps you young.
Yeah, that's true.
Ask your doctor if Luke is right for you.
You've gone past the age of ripening, Frank. I'm sorry.
He's like Viagra without the negative side effects.
I was going to make an erection for more than 4 hours joke, but I couldn't get it.
Beep.
All right.
It's been one of those
Sounds-
shows.
Yeah, is that because of Staten?
Yeah,
Staten made it sexy.
Hey,
It's
now,
true.
Have you read Joe's
Are you
book?
guys now trying to pronounce his name correctly? Because most of the time Frank says Staten.
Yeah, I don't care.
He said it wrong the first time.
Did he
I
really?
don't
Did
care.
Joe correct
He
you?
said Joe
No, he doesn't
Staten,
care
and then
either.
Joe just sort of looked and frowned.
Yeah, that's a shame. I always make sure I say Staten.
Frank O'Connor.
He said, what did you say Marty's last name was? But when you introduced him,
I
you
have
didn't
a
even
thick
pronounce
Scottish
Marty's name
accent.
right.
You guys are racist.
You can't be racist against Scottish people.
It's not safe to. You're right.
So we're like 7 days away from people playing the
Wow.
game, 6 from people in New Zealand and
Except
Australia
for all the people
playing.
that played early. Brian, what's up with that? Have you talked about that yet?
What, playing early?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Sketch and I
Yeah,
both
we've been
played.
playing the game like crazy. I almost have all the achievements already.
We're
Come
allowed.
on.
I'm taking Brian on a skull run later
Yeah.
tonight. Are you kidding?
Well, we talked about the skulls already, so that's all.
Yep.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, yeah. We're not giving locations or anything like that away, but people
Marty doesn't know
what
where they
do.
are anyways, so it's all right.
Oh, I know
Oh,
where
well,
one
actually,
is.
the granddaddy.
Yeah,
I've
there
already
you
said
go.
too much.
Not gonna say.
Which one?
Not gonna say.
I know which one.
Yeah,
I'll tell you
I
after
know.
the air.
Which one?
Frank doesn't know. Don't tell him.
I bet I do.
No,
But you
don't.
don't?
No, you don't.
We're not going to talk about the skull of all skulls.
Let's just say if you play custom soundtracks while you're playing the game, something special might happen. Oh, yeah, it's totally false.
That is completely false.
I denounce custom
Have
soundtracks.
you guys talked about the custom soundtrack?
No,
haven't.
we haven't.
Do you have thoughts on that?
What if I want to play? What's going to happen to me if I'm going to play Halo and have
Little John's Get Low
Little
playing in
John.
the background?
That's what I would
Luda,
play.
chicken and beer maybe in the background?
Yeah, what
See,
will
that's
happen?
some 26.
No, you knew
guy.
who Ludacris was. Remember, you
Oh, is that
recognized,
Ludacris?
you recognized him
Ludacris, yeah.
as Chris, the actor from Crash.
From Crash.
Yeah. So what would you do if somebody tried to play Chris, the actor from Crash's alternate career musicology?
You have every right and reason to play any music you want to while you're
Sweet,
playing Halo.
and we'll take a break. No, is
And
there
you
any
can.
more? Is there
What do
any?
you
Or is there any?
Well, it's just
is
that
there any
Bungie
problem?
has its own way of handling it, which
Which
I think
is?
is a really good way. As a
Describe
matter of
that.
fact, what happens is the game says, "Oh, we notice that you're playing a custom soundtrack."
Right.
That's not the recommended thing that we would want you to do while you're playing the campaign.
Right.
So because we can't help to control the mix and we can't make it work well under the cinematics, we're just going to turn off Marty's music or Halo music,
Right.
and also turn off the dialogue.
All of
Now
the
think
dialogue?
about it. Now hang
Whoa.
on. No. Now who cares? Because by the time you're playing custom soundtracks, you've already enjoyed the game thoroughly many times through with all the way it was meant to be played and heard. Now you get to go in and you get to hear all the sound design, all the explosions, and think about machinima. Now this is the way that you can get rid of the dialogue that's in the game
No,
and the music that's in the game.
Wait a minute,
and
Methuselah.
replace it with what you want and make your own stuff. Now,
Sounds
tell
good.
me
Wait,
another
wait.
game that can do that. None. Hello, we win. There
So
it
wait,
is.
when people play custom soundtracks, they cut out part of the game that I wrote. Is that what you're saying? That's
All
how
right,
you
that's
connect the
actually
kids.
the main. That's how I sold it to the
That's true.
TCR committee. So
That's just fantastic.
they said, "Is there any
What
way
kind
we
of car
can
do you drive?
get rid
Where's
of
it parked?"
Frank's dialogue?"
But something like multiplayer traditionally
makes
has
sense.
never had music
Yeah.
by you,
So,
so people want to go crazy
bang.
there. Boom.
For the first time, you can easily play any music you want while you're playing multiplayer, and it doesn't affect a thing. You still hear Killtacular.
Right. Good time.
So that
But
announcer
way less
goes
than
through.
you used to hear it.
I hope so. Well,
Depends
Have you
on
ever heard it, Luke? Because I don't remember.
Oh, really, Marty?
Yeah, he has.
I
It's
think-
started to happen to him.
Wow, Marty's calling you out.
I think Marty and I should play and put the save film on the internet.
Yeah, I think you should.
You guys
For
will be
Lucum's
surprised.
recommends
That's all I
day
got to
one
say.
down the
Well, let's
That'd be
do it.
good.
That's
It
a
would.
challenge.
It
Marty
would
just
be.
threw down the gauntlet. You
A
just
day
got
one
glove
save
slap.
He
film?
just did
on
glove slap me.
Lucum's
I'll
file
let
share?
you pick the map. Highly recommend against Guardian.
I don't. You
You
can
know,
go
there are some
Guardian now.
multiplayer maps I actually haven't played. I hate to admit it because I had to finish the campaign, and
Because you're busy working on the game.
I was actually working on the game.
Well,
Unlike
Luke was
some
on the
people
hardcore
in this
playtest
room.
team. Did you hear? Luke was part of the hardcore team.
The hardcore team. I remember
Specifically
that.
tapped
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, you realize that was we were just telling him that.
I know,
It
I
wasn't
heard,
real.
because he
Okay.
wasn't important in the
No,
game and he was
absolutely.
expendable and had time to spare.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, wait, are we on?
You got to go around it to tap.
Damn, Popper Stopper. Spoiling my joke.
Wonder how the Popper Stopper's working.
This is good. Jay
it's
came
actually-
in and hooked this up.
Ah, Jay. See,
Actually,
Another guy who
Jay's on
works.
his way to Tokyo right now.
It's true.
Tokyo Game Show.
Yep.
No, he's in Tokyo. He's at
Oh,
his
he's already
brother's
there.
house in
Yeah.
Tokyo.
He said it was
Yeah.
100 degrees in Tokyo. Dying.
Do not want.
September in Tokyo.
Arigato.
Oh man, it's like being in a homeless guy's shorts. I swear to God, it's so hot and stink.
What'd you say about old man shorts?
He said,
Oh, hey.
Frank said it was like being in a
Homeless.
homeless guy's shorts.
Oh.
How do you know? How you've been in a homeless guy's pants?
I use the power of imagination, something you lack.
So that's...
So is this what this podcast has devolved into?
No.
It's just like you guys
It's just
insulting
free
each other?
flowing. Yeah, I mean, people
okay.
do like it when we beat up on
This
each
is just
other.
this is just the first segment this week. Actually, in the second segment, we're having Chris Gossett on to
A little
talk
more
about
refined.
the Bungie net.
But Frank
the
has to
Bungie net
leave
layout.
soon, so we
Yeah, I
just
gotta
wanted to let
take
him
off.
get his jabs in.
Good, good.
Anything else to say to our millions of listeners, Marty?
Wow. Well, I mean, what did you guys think about the single-player campaign? Did you enjoy it?
I still haven't played through it in order. I've only ever played it out of order. But I
What?
really
I've
liked
played through it a ton.
Yeah, I did too. I liked it a lot.
it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
I-
it.
It's good stuff.
Do you
I
think the
absolutely loved
fans
it.
will enjoy the way things get wrapped up?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've said a couple times that I think that the ending is among the most satisfying endings.
Yeah,
to
I
it.
mean, to clarify, we wouldn't dare say it was satisfying unless we were pretty freaking sure.
Yeah, I would
right?
just say I would say nothing about it. And the
Yeah.
ending for me, the first time I
Well,
saw
we
the
wouldn't,
ending.
but you're known to make a lot of bold claims. So
Hey, you
Now,
know what
do-
I noticed the other day? I was not the person who said Halo 2 is like ninjas on fire, ambulance, blah, blah, blah.
no, that's
Jason
true.
Jones.
Yeah, Jason
The
actually.
King of Fight
Okay, I'm going to
Purple.
admit something.
Oh, was-
Jason didn't actually say that.
I heard it was somebody
It
else.
was. I
Jamie.
heard that it was. Actually, when I read the quote,
Jamie made it sound more like what Jason might have said.
no, because when I
Because Jason does say things like that, but he didn't actually say one.
when
for
I
that
read
one.
that actual quote though, because a friend of mine asked me that question a few weeks ago, and I said no, it's not. I don't think it was attributed to someone from Bungie, and then in a press release where it was said, it was attributed to a Microsoft guy.
Oh,
Oh, I don't know
the,
about
the-
that.
The original press release was attributed specifically for Jason Jones, but he has his people write his stuff now.
He's probably a bomber, probably said
So
that.
Frank,
Yeah,
Frank,
it's true.
But Frank couldn't come
Bomber.
up with anything that sounded even remotely cool, so we had to go rely on somebody else.
man.
No, this was before Frank was here.
Yeah,
Next
we,
we're
need to
gonna have to
get,
start-
we need to use some of your hipster lingo.
Hepcat is, I think, the term. I'm a Hepcat.
I think we have a mighty fine campaign in our hands.
Yep.
And a mighty fine
We
game all
certainly do.
around, dare I say it.
Now, let me ask you. Nah, I shouldn't ask this.
No, ask
Well, go ahead.
Well,
ask
I mean,
away.
there's a lot of emotions that you can feel when,
Right.
like, last night I watched. Now, this will be a funny thing. I was watching Pan's Labyrinth for the first
Right.
time. I didn't see it because I was too busy.
Yep, I haven't
Now
seen
I
it yet
saw it.
myself.
Now-
Right.
Don't spoil it. I haven't seen it.
Guillermo del Toro,
Right.
of course, who's got a slight connection with Bungie through many different ways,
Right.
including one of the ways is when we recorded Ron Perlman. Ron would always talk about his buddy, Guillermo. So I have to drop some names.
Name dropping.
There
I was
you
just
go.
getting ready to say.
And so he said, "Oh, you know, he's a Halo fan. He would, you know, all this stuff. When are we going to get him to direct the film?" That was all, you know, a little while ago. But he talked about Pan's Labyrinth, so I went and watched the movie finally last night, and was very emotionally verklempt.
Yeah, it's moving.
It's a moving movie. It's an excellent movie.
And then your emotions were swept away into joy and adulation afterwards, if I recall correct.
Yes, because the very
Why?
next thing that came out, I was watching pay-per-view Comcast. Actually, it was HBO, so I have a subscription. And it came out back into the little Comcast menu, and bang, there was Frank and Luke's face up on the little TV screen.
Wow.
talking about Halo 3, and I was like, wait a minute, did I
Luke
leave my
got- Luke
Xbox
was part of
on?
that?
What's going on? Yeah.
Everyone was.
You know, my wife told me the same thing the other day. She was flipping through like on demand,
Yeah.
like Home and Garden,
And then I
something or
showed
other,
up.
and all of a sudden she saw Harold's face.
Yeah.
It's crazy. We're taking over Comcast.
Yeah. So that was sort of a weird thing to happen. But what I was wondering though is still as because of the emotion I felt while watching the movie,
Yeah.
do you think people will ever feel those kind of emotions playing a game?
Yeah, of course.
I do. I think it's like the chills when the E. Dorian strikes on the
There you
trailer.
go.
I'm serious. We know it. We talked about that a lot after watching that announced trailer for 100 times with no audio. We're like, it's pretty good. And then suddenly, out of nowhere,
Well, there's
Dun, dun,
there's
dun,
actually Marty has a
dun,
scary
dun.
theme. You know the one I mean.
Oh, yeah, I do.
There's a very dark, scary, like discordant theme that you have in one of the places, but it's also used as our spoiler warning music.
Oh yeah,
on
I
the
know,
extra discs.
I know.
So when you go to the our version of the FBI warning for spoilers,
You're like all
it's this
freaked out.
ridiculously frightening music that just tells you, yep, you don't want to watch this.
Oh, that'll be fun too. By the way, fans should listen for some of those little backwardsy things that show up every once in a while.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, too, the bonus discs are, I think, turned out phenomenal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
People should
Really
definitely
cool.
not watch them until they've already finished the game. But
Well, they
there's a
should
lot.
calibrate their monitor first
Well,
with the
you're right.
Johnson calibrator, but it's in a safe place. On the
Do the
disc.
audio test and the video calibration, and then don't look at anything else.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Until
And then
you
after
finish
you
the game.
finished it, yeah, go nuts.
As a matter of fact, people shouldn't even be listening to this podcast if they took my advice that I gave a couple weeks
People
ago.
didn't take your advice. Download spiked. People were like Marty. People like Marty said not to use the internet. I bet Bungie Net's safe.
You were like the Nancy Reagan of
Actually,
drugs.
we don't
Don't
post our own
use-
spoilers, and we're trying our best to keep our forums spoiler free.
true.
So we try to make a haven. Occasionally, a
That is good.
jerk sneaks in, but we
Yeah,
try.
yeah.
Well, I got to go to Mexico now. Seriously.
Oh, that's right. You're heading off to you're
I'm
going
heading off
to
Mexico
Cozumel,
City.
right?
Yep.
Cancun and
My combination of asthma and their altitude and pollution should be awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I hope you survive. Sort of.
And you're
But yeah,
just,
we're doing a pre-launch event in Mexico City. I'm looking forward to it.
Now, how
I
many
love
people
Mexico.
actually wrote dialogue for Halo, Frank?
3, maybe 4. Lots of people had their
Oh,
hand
sure.
in
So
it.
you're not counting me, are you?
Oh my
and
god.
the worst part is Marty got to pick the skip fractions. Hence, it seems we have guests.
somehow
I'm
Marty
disappointed that-
coordinated
where
the
did
whole
that go?
Mexico event too, right?
Yeah, oh, totally.
Yeah, okay.
He also invented Mexico. And on that
Wait,
note,
you mean he settled it back in the day, or what are you
Back in
trying
the
to say
day.
there?
oh, I
Well,
don't
somebody
know.
thought
He's
that
not
I
a-
might have met Chopin before he wrote that prelude that's used on the commercial. I think that was you that said that, wasn't
No,
it?
I wouldn't even know that was Chopin. I hate to say,
What?
but
Brian.
sorry, if it doesn't have beats, can't
Yeah,
shake your rope
it's
maker to
Chopin
it. I'm
have
not
meant
into
Euro
it.
beats. We don't care.
Prelude in D flat.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, on that note, I have to go to Mexico, so I will see you after the game launches, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see you when
Oh,
you
and
get
then you
back.
go straight to the Big Apple,
Straight to the Big Apple. I won't even be able to play on the 25th.
hanging with our
Wait, who's
friends.
going to be
and-
there in New York?
it'd be
Harold?
Harold, Frank, and Aaron.
Yeah.
And Harold-
Aaron again. Well, I'm telling you, Aaron's starting to show
Well,
up.
he's the one with the camera. He's always there taking mad snaps.
And he's giving away wristbands.
Yeah.
Find Aaron in New York. Frank's sporting
Look at
one
that.
right now. The
Right
Bungie
now.
I didn't
sweatbands.
see it.
Bringing sexy back.
That looks cool.
Sexy back.
So with Frank
Too
taking
bad
off,
you never actually do anything that would cause you to sweat in that area. Well, maybe
Talking
you
to
do.
you makes
Dude,
me a
playing
little
Sierra 1117
moist.
on easy, Frank's just sweating buckets.
oh no.
And
okay,
on
don't
that
go there.
note, I'll let them talk about me behind my back.
No, I think we're gonna take a quick break and we'll come back and
So I'm leaving too, right?
yeah, you can leave.
You're a
It's fine.
fixture. You did what you
I
want.
mean, technically, you could fill Frank's seat. We do have more guests to come.
We have,
but
No, I
Chris
think you
Gossett
should.
coming.
You don't want 7 people talking over each other.
I don't want to
again.
spoil your best.
That's
I mean,
the thing. We're gonna have you on a couple
A
weeks
real
after
show.
launch to have
To
a
talk
real show to
about
talk
the
about
real
music.
and everything.
Once
Maybe
people have
play some
played-
tracks for us.
Oh,
Bring a Casio
wow.
tone.
It'd be cool to play some tracks and talk a little bit about some of the influences on a given track.
All right, that
I
sounds
agree.
Good. Maybe I should get Mike in to actually say what it is because
He could phone in.
he did everything.
He could call in.
Okay, let me just set the record straight. Mike didn't do everything. Okay, regardless of what Frank keeps saying.
It's
Well,
a perfect collaboration, right?
Yeah.
You can tell if you look at the making of stuff. My hands are on the keyboard.
Marty, no, you're the only
It's true.
person that thinks that I've ever said.
All right, and
All
on
right.
that note, we will be right back. God, that was a pretty rough segment.
What do you mean?
That was
awesome.
It was an hour of insanity.
That was great.
Well, we're back with the second segment, and Chris Gossett, who is the web dev lead at Bungie, is here to talk about the new features that are coming to BungieNet.
How you doing?
Not too bad. Welcome.
Welcome aboard, Chris.
Thank you.
So, BungieNet's getting a pretty big makeover in line with Halo 3. It's getting a pretty significant expanding of the feature set, definitely in line with the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we did a redesign earlier in the year and had some success with it, and just saw what we wanted to do going forward for Halo 3 and decided that we just wanted to add like as many features as we possibly could get in the time that we had available to us.
So let's start with probably the thing that BungieNet was most known for in Halo 2 was the stats. The stat tracking is still, 3 years later, pretty much unequaled. Resistance Fall Man did a really nice job with their stats page last year, but how is the stats tracking changing for Halo 3? I think that's going to be something people are really interested in.
It's just more and better, pretty much. I mean, there's everything we did for Halo 2 plus more, right? So what we've got now is we got the campaign stats tracking, which has never been done before, and I don't really know any first-person shooter that actually has that, at least on a console that has.
What's an example? Like, what does that mean? Give me an example of that.
So basically, you'll be able to play on live with your friends or play on live by yourself as you're running through co-op, or even like just in a regular mission. And when you get to the end of the mission, you'll get a carnage report of scoring if you had it turned on or without scoring, and all of that stats and everything that you killed and everything that you did will be uploaded to BungieNet, and we will have a record of it. So you literally will be able to see like how many grunts you killed on the first mission of the game and going on and so forth throughout the whole entire game.
And these are also going to be available in aggregate form too, right? So over time they're going to sort of grow and expand.
Yeah, absolutely. For aggregate form right now we have just kind of a community level, but we're definitely going to add some aggregate stats for your own personal what you did in campaign over time as well.
So we could do some crazy stuff when like the 7 millionth grunt is killed. We could throw a party.
Yep,
Nice.
absolutely. I think we'll actually hit that pretty quick though, so we better start planning.
Well, 777 millionth grunt.
One of the things that's really neat, because I just saw it today when I got back from my trip about campaign scoring while we're talking about that, is the in-game PCR breaks the units down in a way that's like infantry unit, specialist unit, hero unit, and what's the other one? Captain unit?
Yeah,
I believe that's what it is.
Leader's the other one.
Yeah, and so then what the BungieNet does is it actually expands those units into their relative subcategories, where I'm going to see on a given level when I kill a leader what type of leader I killed.
Right, absolutely. So basically the in-game, post-game carnage report, they didn't have a whole lot of time to really expand on it and make it as good as they wanted to. So what we did on BungieNet was we just elaborated on it and took all the data and blew it out as much as we possibly could. So you'll actually be able to see that I killed a brute leader and what are the types of brute leaders and a brute hero and what kind of vehicles you destroyed. So if you killed a ghost or destroyed a ghost, or if you destroyed a chopper or whatever, you'll be able to see all of that as well.
It gets really into the minutia too of the enemy types they are killing, where you'll have stuff like it actually segregates the difference between a wraith, an anti-air wraith, the different types of, there's like 4 different brutes in a single class. I believe the specialist class is pretty populated with a bunch of brutes, so you're going to see like, oh, this is the bodyguard class of the brute, and you're going to remember how they behaved. And like we've talked about before, it really brings together the differences in all of the brutes, and now you're going to see that not only in-game, represented on BungieNet, and then represented obviously in the behaviors.
I think it's mind-boggling. Chris and some of the guys showed me a little bit last week and walked me through it, and I've been, like yourself, traveling, very busy. I haven't had a lot of direct involvement, and I think you guys have done something pretty amazing here. It's the amount of stats and information is just staggering.
Well, and this is just the campaign stats, which is something that's brand new for Halo 3. The Halo 3 multiplayer stats have been expanded in incredible ways.
Yeah. So in Halo 2, you didn't really have the aggregate experience so much. I mean, you had an RSS feed, and maybe you could have like a fan site that aggregated some of your stats together. But what we've actually done on BungieNet now is we've tried to collect and keep those aggregate stats for everybody who's ever played the game for the lifetime of the game. So you'll be able to go to your service record, as we're calling it, see every medal that you've ever earned in a matchmaking game, every weapon kill you've ever gotten in a matchmaking game, break it out by rank, social, break it out by game type even, so you can say Team Slayer on Valhalla. How many medals have I gotten?
Wait, that's not just game type. You're sorting by game type and map
Game type and map, weapon deaths and kills.
Wow. So I can see my lifetime kills, Team Slayer, what I use most on Construct.
Absolutely.
In both ranked and social matchmaking?
Yes.
That's crazy. And my favorite part, maybe you're going to get to this, is the other thing that's unique to Bungie.net. That's an extension of what's in the game, regarding medals.
Are you talking about?
Oh, the BungieNet only medals?
That's right.
Oh,
okay,
God.
I don't know. Are we talking about that?
I don't think we should say.
I don't think we should say
need to
what
say
they
anything
are.
more than that. But I just think the fact that we have that existing is very cool.
Yes.
Yeah, we have some pretty.
And
cool
the fact
stuff.
that we have the ability to do that over time is also cool.
Yeah, Bertone just bailed. He didn't want to. He didn't want to come in and get slapped around.
No, I think that's really going to be cool, and especially the fact that we can add more of those. And I guess in theory, we even could have Bungie.net web-only achievements if we wanted to as well, right? Where
I mean, we do all the processing as
kill
the
a couple
stats come
million
in,
grunts,
so-
get the grunt genocide achievement on BNet on your BNet profile.
Absolutely.
And that would be the sort of thing that we can display in a different area of the top of the new BungieNet, which is a really interesting area. I don't know how I would describe it, but there's a new static bar at the top that's sort of your player identification.
Right. So the other thing that we wanted to do was make it really apparent who you were looking at it, because the thing you can do is you can browse around by which player you're looking at, and everybody kind of has this static player identity bar that not only does it background with like your player color that you're using in the game, your emblem, your current rank and skill, but it also has basically 8 boxes that showcase some of your achievements you've done in game. So the top row is kind of the badges that you earn as you go across, and then maybe like your campaign completion level, and then the bottom 4 are really like the best cream of the crop medals you've ever earned. Rank obviously trumps social, so if you earn like the cream of the crop multi-kill in a ranked game, like that's going to show up on your bar, and everybody's going to see that like just as they browse to your site, like your page, and they're just going to know like what your achievements are, or if you're somebody who plays a lot or somebody who doesn't play very much.
So when you see a guy with one of those special BungieNet medals and an invincible and campaign complete legendary, maybe he's got the highest rank badge as well through his Spartan training, you're going to be able to look at someone instantly and know.
Sketch.
Doubt it.
Yeah, he's the guy you want to listen to when you're looking at the forums, because he probably knows what he's talking about.
KPD
right?
0.47.
Actually, that's a good point, though. You'll know, like the guys that are on there talking all the smack, and apparently they're experts on every field. You'll be able to quickly look at their profile and realize that, that's funny. This guy hasn't managed to get past Sierra 117 on easy.
Frank has nothing more than a double kill.
He's never completed a campaign. Maybe I should never listen to him.
Yeah.
So this is just stats. So what we're talking about right now is just the improvements that have been made to the Halo, like to what the Halo 2 feature set was. So that's feature parity and above. But what about all the new stuff in Halo 3, like Forge, and there's all these social elements of the game. Are you guys able to accommodate anything on BNet for that?
So obviously we have the file share, which is an extension of what the game's doing, where you have your slots that you have available to basically upload game variants, map variants, save films, your film clips, screenshots, if you will, and you can basically see those, rate those, add those to a forum, and actually comment and post on those sorts of things. And beyond that, you can even take someone's screenshot, copy it to your gallery, and post it on your page and say, hey, this is a nice, cool shot of a screenshot of somebody took, rate it really high, and all of that stuff bubbles up, and there's going to be a main page where you basically can see the popular stuff over the last few days. And then obviously, like I said, the forums, which will just live on forever. So
the community will be able to sort of manage itself in terms of when somebody makes an awesome map variant or a not awesome map variant, like Lookout, hypothetically speaking.
Or Sketch Trap, I think, is a more apropos.
The fans will either give it a lot of accolades and it'll rise to the top, or they'll ding it and it'll fall to the bottom and be forgotten forever.
I think if you want something to really rise to the top, what you need to do is you post it to the forums, and then everybody's going to go through the forums and read it, and it'll bubble up the same way that anything else would bubble up in our forums. So if a lot of people are posting on it, it'll become the hot thread that'll move to the top, and if everybody's downloading it, that'll move it up in other ways. So
and then if we catch wind of it, we could add it to Bungie favorites and make it officially available through the UI for everybody that's playing Halo 3 worldwide.
And we're even able to extend that one step further and take things from the community out of favorites and incorporate them, if they're good enough, into our matchmaking playlists as well.
Absolutely. Actually, I think the intention is that we will have a playlist that's completely managed and operated by the community based on their map variants and their game types.
And we can make fun of the kids who always get their game types vetoed. Yeah. We should put a most vetoed in there as well. Maybe that can be a medal on BNet.
Special Bungie medal right there.
So did I just make you guys job easier?
I don't know.
That's cool. If you could just make a widget that let people write top like
stories
an
now.
update every Friday afternoon, then Frank and Luke would have anything left to do.
Yeah.
So. That'd be cool. It's going to be awesome, though, because we talk a lot about being able to create so much content, but that's like only half the battle because more people obviously are going to consume content than actually take the time to create it. So the fact you guys have put so much effort into making it really easy to find stuff, evaluate it, rate it, and then just click it and go home and have it download to your console automatically.
Oh, yeah.
That's hot.
Yeah.
Well, I think that needs to be like explained again because you said that so quickly.
Why don't you walk us through it?
I can't walk us through it, but I think Chris can.
Well, yeah, let's do a hypothetical situation.
Okay.
You heard that.
You heard that Luke's new map, Rebound, is the greatest map
got a
ever.
new name now.
It's the reimagination of Snowbound. It's Snowbound a different way.
Oh.
And it's coming to you September 25th.
So there's some buzz on the forums about this map called Rebound. So what do you as a user do to go and get this map?
So first thing, I need to sign in with my Xbox Live, Windows Live ID, so I can actually have my gamer tag linked to what I'm doing on BungieNet.
So you have to have a BungieNet account created to use these features.
Create a BungieNet account.
That's
and
free.
sign in.
It's hassle free.
It's like a 1-page registration form, maybe 2 questions. It's really simple to get in. The price of admission is really easy. So.
Where do I if I have a gamer tag already, can I just use my email for my gamer tag? Isn't
absolutely.
that the easiest way to do it?
That's the one you want to use. So I mean, if you go to your Xbox Live dashboard and you go to like account management, it's the email that they have on file there. Use that email address because that's the one where your gamer tag is linked to. Come to BungieNet, sign in, and then we'll ask you the registration questions and you'll be right into the experience. Basically, what you do from there is if you're on the forums and you find this, what's it called?
Rebound.
Oddball, rebound, whatever. So you find this really great variant. Right next to that file, there should be a link that says download to my Xbox 360. You click on that, it'll queue up. You can queue up to 8 things at any given time.
Wow.
You go back to your Xbox, sign in, and it should automatically download to your Xbox, and you can start playing.
That's huge.
Once I sign into the game, or once I just turn the box on? Once I boot
once
up Halo
you sign
3.
into Live, I believe. Now, the one caveat I need to realize with this is for us to be able to do this, you have to at least view your file share once. You don't actually have to upload anything. You just have to go to the file share page.
So then at that point, Bungie.net servers know what it is.
We know who you are.
exists.
We know what your gamer tag is, so that way we can actually queue the stuff up for you.
That's phenomenal.
So you basically have to have Halo 3 to be able to download stuff.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do with it otherwise?
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, a bunch of files it won't be any use to.
What else?
That's pretty intense. I have to
that's
say.
just.
I mean, also Bungie.net is the only way that you can actually browse somebody's file share that's not on your friends list, for example, or recent players. Like through the game UI, there is no generic like type in a gamer tag or do a broad search. But on Bungie.net, you can look up anybody just by typing the gamer tag into the search field, pushing the button. Next thing you know, you can look at Frankie's file share. You could look at Luke's, whatever, and you don't even have to know who they are or have any contact with them directly.
Well, I'll be updating on the regular news page on BungieNet every time I
will
create
too.
something new.
I'm actually having entire groups that I want to be formed that's dedicated to making the best possible Halo 3 content. You'll see.
The thing that's really exciting to me is knowing that somewhere out there actually is a kid who's going to make these maps, who's going to come up with game types, and who's going to come up with variants. And he's going to put so much time and effort into it, and it's going to be something that turns out incredibly, and it's going to be the sort of thing that we just didn't think of, and it's going to there's going to be a game type that's going to change the way Halo's played in the same way that Dota changed
Rocket
War
Race
3.
already has a little bit for me right now.
Yeah, Rocket Race is still to date my favorite multiplayer game type, and I've heard rumors of it's been configured for some other maps.
Actually, when we were here the other day, we were experimenting with Rocket Race. We had some press here. One of our guests decided to take the foundation that Lars put in the game and tweak it. So we experimented in real time over the course of an hour. We went from playing the generic standard Rocket Race experience on Sandtrap with teams of 2 and Mongooses to a version that was aerial only. So it was teams of 3 on a vehicle. Yeah,
we've talked about it.
The Hornet. Okay, I'm scared. But I mean, it was so easy and so fluid to modify that to then suddenly play a game with 8 people driving around Ghost, playing individual race. not only can you make your own things from scratch, but just iterating on other stuff and evolving it over time is going to create all kind of cool experiences also.
Yeah, and that's really what we wanted to do on BungieNet too, is just be able to have an avenue where those people could showcase that sort of thing. So I mean, if you've got somebody who's just a war photographer and all they do is just take screenshots, at least they have a place where they can kind of show that off, and like this guy always has the coolest screenshots, or this other guy, he always has the coolest.
The war photographer.
Yeah.
There's another business for you. So I don't know if you heard, Luke's going to actually open up a side business where you can hire him to speed run you through the missions and help you get your achievements because he's so good.
So all he has to do is share out the films, right?
But he'll also follow you around and just take screenshots of you as well. So that's nice.
It's a good Sketches gamer tag.
Well, it's not hard to find.
Yeah.
One thing that we probably maybe should talk about quickly that a lot of people ask is, why can't I watch my save films on Bungie.net? And we get that question all the time. And I think it mostly just comes from people not understanding how that feature really works in the game. But these aren't movie files at all.
No, they're not. They're actually a file that saves all the state of the game. So basically, when you look at a film, you can fly around and switch views from which players you're looking at. You can do whatever you want to, and that's what you actually use to take screenshots from like almost any angle. So it's really more of a 3D film rather than just like a fluid two-dimensional film that you might just watch.
But the plus side is that these file sizes are like a 1080p HD movie of like a 10-minute game would be a gigabyte or something like that. Probably be ridiculous, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And now we're talking about files that are just bits of code that are extremely easy to upload and share and manage.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly kicked around the idea of having farms of Xboxes that all they did was render out the cool moments from films of these, and we may in fact still do it. But certainly the cool factor of it first was, let's get it so people can actually use it. It's really more of this is the media groundwork that you use to make clips, to make your screenshots, to make all the other cool stuff.
Within hours, we had beta clips all over YouTube, right? And then people just have their own resources. Capture devices are very easy to come by nowadays.
Absolutely.
It might be almost worth looking at capture devices and which capture devices are the best for our purposes in terms of affordability and quality, and sort of looking at a bunch of that stuff and helping the players, figure
I
out
imagine
how to
that we'll do some in-house capture of like big hump day challenges and things like that, make them available as
absolutely.
MPEGs and QuickTimes on BNet. But
I still think we should probably reveal some old images, some old footage from the earliest of 4-player.
I have that famed 4-player early take home, and I'd love to release.
Once people see the changes made to Salvo and how much better it looks.
But the fact that we can do a hump day challenge against a celebrity or another group, do a write-up on the website that includes some inline screenshots of the real game, and then also click here to download this film and watch it tonight in your living room. And watch it from Luke's perspective, watch it from Frank's perspective as it unfolded in real time.
And not only that,
it's amazing.
Fly around in 3D and look at it from all sorts of angles.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's almost gonna. Frank and I were talking about it. We almost have to. We don't really have to write anything now for the hump days. We can just be like, go to the 17th second.
You guys are writers. But
go to the 17th second. Here, download this clip here.
Or you can take my new revolutionary approach to a Halo game storytelling, which I don't want to leak yet because I'm still building up for my big reveal, which. Within a week, I'll be trumped and stomped on, but we should have that go out this week.
Yeah, we should. Why you should put the finishing touches on this.
I'll get on that.
All right, Chris, help us understand a little bit more about BungieNet. Can we talk a little bit about your team and what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, in addition to just improving? Improving BungieNet's a core part of your job, but there's a bunch more that you're working on.
Right. So the main core team is really made up of a couple testers. Tom Arcano, so you guys probably know from the forums. He's one of the primary developers as well. I also develop. I also produce a lot of what we do in terms of just looking at the feature list, saying what's in, what's not. And then we have a UI designer, which is Colm Nelson, who actually does a lot of the UI design, and then another artist who does all the imagery. So us working together for the last 4 or 5 months, we basically tried to create an experience that people will enjoy on BungieNet and kind of let them showcase what they do in the game in Halo 3, and then also kind of give them the community avenue that they need outside of that. So right now we're pretty much just working crazy hours. It seems like everybody from Halo 3, like all the developers and everybody, who've kind of gone home and they're taking the months off, and it's really quiet around here. But like at midnight on a Saturday, and I'm the only person in the studio, like it's definitely a different type of crunch, but it's the same thing that everybody else went through, but I'm just doing it like a month later.
You're like lone wolf crunch.
Yeah, we're like the lone
True.
wolf team crunch.
And with Halo 2 it happened a little bit, but we've talked about this. A lot of the web integration for Halo 2 was sort of not really an afterthought, but it was just like we had limited resources and people, and it's get the game done. All right, we have an extra 4 to 5, 6 weeks before we hit shelves. What can we do?
Right.
And it was a mad dash to the finish line. This time we hired we hired extra people. It became a real focus of the team, and in fact, I think your background's kind of interesting as well, because where were you working at prior to coming to Bungie?
So I worked at a couple places, but the one right prior to this was Match.com.
There you go.
So give a shout out to my old coworkers.
So we were
30 days or less, money back.
So I mean, that was part of our
I actually kind of worked on
looking
that
for love
feature.
in Halo 3. That's what that's part of what you've been working on, right? Is a whole like matchmaking system to help people find their lost love through Halo. I don't know, not so much.
Yeah, so you basically have to come there and post your profile, and then you'll have a screenshot of what you look like in game. And no, I'm just totally kidding.
Except you're totally serious about the screenshot about what you look like in game.
You could do that, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of fit that in there, didn't I? So there's a couple things you can actually do to make a screenshot yourself. It's one, you've got your glory shot, as we're calling it, which is basically like your high-res screenshot that you can post on your profile. And then right below it, you've actually got an image of your player model that you just used from game. So as you get those really high, cool armor unlocks, you'll actually be able to show off that you actually got them on BungieNet.
If I make a clip of me, a crotch cam clip of me corpse humping Luke in the game, will I get banned from Bungie.net for that?
We're still figuring out the rules around that, but I think
humping's a part of Halo 3.
You'll probably be okay with the corpse hump.
Okay.
What about, were there such a thing that would separate Bungie employees from the visual herd, so to speak? Were something like that to be included in Halo 3? Is that going to be displayed on our page? Can I have that if something like that existed?
I don't think I'm going to say anything about that. You could probably
just hard edit the image right now on the site like you can your avatar, right?
I could.
Oh wait, you don't have super user privs, do you?
I don't. I think I need to have yours removed.
Actually, they were removed. Yeah. That's another discussion.
Don't worry, Luke. We got a special image for you. So.
Oh.
Hey.
Actually, though, speaking of being able to flag your profile, one of the things we did for Halo 2 was allow BungieNet registered users to opt in to basically having the BungieNet logo displayed in the UI of the game. Were you anything like that this time around?
We're doing a very similar thing. You get a little Septagon next to your name in game, and everybody should actually come and do it, because there may be some other benefits to that down the road. So.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about those other benefits the other day. Are we going to have those too?
Well, I know theoretically, for example, one thing I think we could do if we ever decided to was make a playlist that was just for BungieNet registered users, for example. We have the ability to do that if we wanted to.
And maybe that could be the exclusive home of Bungie and matchmaking.
It could be. Come here to beat down Frank.
It could be ranked. Nice. I like this.
Such a rancor.
Oh, God, I'm going to boost. BXR!
So the most important question is when should we expect all the stuff to go out and actually be live on the website?
This podcast airs Friday.
So we're actually going to be launching the new site this Wednesday, with a lot of features obviously turned off because not many people will be playing Halo 3.
Well, it depends at this rate. Jeez, everybody's but us is playing it.
Yeah, so I think we actually turn stats on probably the following weekend. So if Friday is our update about when we're going to turn it on, we'll probably turn it on Friday night, and then you'll start seeing things from other people playing who actually have the game.
So if by that time I already have all the achievements and all the medals, my profile will instantly reflect that, right?
Yeah.
The thing is,
excellent.
So the thing is, you're not going to actually, you specifically are not going to have all the achievements.
You're right. I can't get the matchmaking achievements.
There's some pretty tough ones to get in matchmaking.
You're
but
right.
The campaign ones, you and I, with probably a few hours of work, could wrap up all of them but one.
Dude, I'm almost there already without your help.
You were telling me today you have a skull that you found, a campaign scoring skull, singular one. And
you're like,
skull.
Hey Luke, you're crazy.
Hey Luke, where's the one in?
I said
I
turned on one in that particular discussion.
I think we'll just go reset all of that right now, so we can start over.
You're gonna wipe my account.
But since you know where it is, it won't really matter.
You son of a bitch.
So how many achievements do you have right now?
I don't know. I need to go bring it up and look. Off the top of my head, I do not memorize it like you. I don't. Just
I have 715
points out of 1,000.
Yeah, I have every campaign achievement but 5.
Why don't you have those 5?
I haven't had time to beat it on Legendary. I was waiting. I figured you, Frank, Lars, and I would do Legendary co-op and save the films and put them up one at a time.
Is that for the Legendary Lucum's run through that you're talking about as well?
No, I need to find the Famine Skull in order to do the in order to get that set up.
Yeah, I got it. I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you offline.
I know you don't have that one. So what else have we not talked about with BNet? I feel like we're still sort
there's so many features. It's ridiculous.
It's just like with the rest of the game. We're just scratching.
Absolutely ridiculous.
We scratch the surface whenever we talk about it, and it's hard to explain it without you looking at your page in front of you.
And the crazy thing is that Chris and his guys are spending so much time crunching on the website that they really haven't had the luxury of even playing the game lately. I have to imagine that you're way
tell
behind.
Me about it. Yeah,
you probably haven't finished the game. You haven't finished the fight yet, right?
Well, actually, yeah, because Luke was talking about some stuff today, and I was like,
so he just ruined the game for you?
Yeah, he totally ruined it for me.
Thanks, Luke. Good job.
Totally ruined it for me.
No, you try to blame it on me, but it was Frankie in that meeting who was like, "Oh, Chris, did you do that?" And you were like, "Oh."
Remember at the end that one thing that happens?
Yeah.
That time when we were the this and the that, and I was like.
So of all the people in the studio, we're probably the most poised to not get spoiled by what goes on in the game, just because.
Actually, I don't think Davina's even turned on the console.
Oh, maybe, yeah, okay.
Shauna's really into it, though. She can't get enough of the Chief.
She's got 799 points right now.
Wow, I think I have 10 right now.
Shauna's gamer score is ridiculous.
I've been scared. I haven't turned my Xbox Live account on the internet since I started playing Halo 3, and I want to get banned or swept up in their massive ninja assault suite.
Did you see? You saw the mail about that, right? Where it was like, this was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Someone was like, we have this suspicious gamer tag activity.
There were 3 suspicious gamer tags. Like, one was the Red Dog gamer tag, one was another guy, and then it was mine. And they were about to just nuke all 3 of them. And Alan Murray, one of the producers, was like, no, that third one, that's Luke. He works here. Safe.
Yeah, we're pretty ruthless on that stuff.
Well, and we do have the banhammer this time around, too. So eventually we'll have to take you out, teach you how that works, give you the...
Take
you can wield the power and handle it responsibly.
I will too. Every time I get
called,
nothing
like the first time you get to click that mouse and just ban somebody.
The first time I get called a racial slur, it's going to be awesome.
It is fun, and you're like, I work for Bungie, I'm going to ban you, and they're like, yeah, right.
Did you? Well, you know the time that I don't know if you were playing with Joe Tong and I the night that a kid in the beta was he called Joe Tong, or his name. He had a racial slur in his name, spelled cleverly with numbers. And Joe was like, "Hey, you should really change that. It's a TOS violation." The kid was like, "F you, buddy." And Joe was like, "Really?" And Joe sort of, I might have goaded him a little bit to get him to go a little further. And then Joe banned him. And the kid, as Joe said, "Well, we work for Bungie, so we're gonna have to ban your account." And the kid was like, "Well, I work for Microsoft." It didn't hold up.
And I'll unban your ban and raise you a permanent ban. It's good stuff. Actually, the best part now is that the banhammer is near instantaneous. There's no longer a huge multi-hour delay. So when and if we have to unwield the hammer, it's coming down fast and hard.
So just hypothetically, if I keep a laptop next to where I game, will I be able to just in real time log into my laptop and execute?
You're already delusional with power. I don't think we can let Luke have access to the hammer.
I don't think we're going to give it to him.
I don't think
it sounds like the first time
when you're talking like that, you're too scary.
I think I need it.
I think the first time someone gets like 5 points from beating him.
No, but it's not because it's not a losing thing. It's about winning with class. You got to win with you got to be Barry Sanders. You got to get into the end zone, hand the ref the ball, trot back to the sidelines. Just be pleased.
Why can't you just win the
game? I don't
got
to go into the end zone like Chad Johnson, put on a jersey that says 2007 Hall of Fame or whatever, and celebrate like that.
Is it possible to be too competitive?
That's Luke.
No, I just hand the ball back to the ref, head back to the sidelines, respectfully.
Here's the NFL Minute, brought to you by Lucums. Yeah, so what's BungieNet doing to incorporate Madden? That's what Luke really wants to know.
We'll get right on that, Luke. Why don't you head on over and we'll talk about what kind of things you want to see on BungieNet.
Actually, have you played Rocket Baseball? Speaking of sports,
no, I haven't got a chance to play since I've been back.
I've actually been.
That's pretty fun.
I'm looking forward to seeing that one.
I'm actually beyond super busy right now. I don't know when I'm gonna.
I know.
September 25th, maybe the next time I get to play Madden. No, I'll play tonight. Like, probably. Actually, while you're listening to this,
I thought we were doing a skull run tonight.
We are. We're gonna we will do a skull run tonight after dinner.
Offline, of course.
Yeah, because
you don't want us to ban you.
No, I don't want to have to unban myself. Actually, you guys already nixed my account, so there you go. Well, anything else to add then? I mean, I know it's hard to get across in audio format. I think by the time people hear this, we would have already had a glimpse of the overall framework for the site redesign. But starting this weekend, people are just going to be blown away.
We're working on a bunch more stuff to sort of help users.
I should say that people that don't want to have the game spoiled should probably not try to seek out this website stat information on Saturday or Friday, whenever it happens to go live. Because
you won't see it much on Wednesday, but then when we actually turn the stat stuff on that weekend, like there's going to be screenshots, there's going to be stats, there's going to be some information. So if you don't want to be spoiled, I'd probably hold off until you actually get the game and then show up.
Because even my profile is going to be I'm not going to have screenshots of spoilers, but if you look at my campaign history, you'll probably see stuff that you don't want to see. Definitely things that you don't want to see.
I'm still working on Sarah 117.
Arrival.
Highest level completed Arrival on easy.
Just for our listeners' sake, that's a cinematic and only a cinematic.
Up? How do you look up?
Luke failed look trading? What?
Can you fail look training?
Did you get the legendary look training achievement? I got it. You do.
There's no such thing.
All right.
I have to check.
Well, on that note, should we wrap this up? Take a quick break?
Actually,
or you got some more stuff?
We'll take a quick break and let Chris get back to
shut it down.
Yeah, we'll take a quick break and let Chris get back to work.
I know, features are on the line right now.
Yeah, we probably just cut 3 things.
Yeah. Well, actually, that was one of the things I was just going to mention is that, like, not only have you guys not had a chance to actually come up for air yet because you're still crunching up all the way up until 25th, but even then, just the nature of the websites, it's always evolving, and you guys never really get to stop and rest on your laurels. Like, there's always stuff I imagine that you guys want to keep doing.
There's that one feature I really want. The thing about the thing
the
with
feature that I really want to, which I've heard may or may not be there on day one, but if not, soon after.
And that's the thing. Like, we've got a list of probably like another 30, 40 things that we want to get done, and we can continue doing this stuff because we did put a lot of care into knowing that the stats that we needed in the back end will actually be there and track them. So even if we don't have front end UI for it, or if it's not integrated quite the right way, we can still do it.
So
later on down the road.
It's just a matter of harnessing it at a later date.
So we're pretty confident that we've got what we need there to do all the features in one down the road. So definitely. And I know there's even still a couple features we're trying to squeeze in for the 25th, which haven't been talked about in this. So
no broken promises. I just really want that one thing that I've talked about a lot and maybe evangelize and whined about a lot.
That's just because you're so competitive.
So far, most of the stuff that we've whined and evangelized about has happened to make the cut.
Bertone talked about that last week.
Team scoring and campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, Chris, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
And we're going to take a quick break, and Sketch and I are going to come back in the longest Bungie podcast ever.
The last one before launch.
With some questions from the readers. Ooh. So we'll be right back. The saga continues. The longest show ever. Oh my god. It's like we're a one-up podcast. It's so long.
And then there were 2.
Yeah, Chris Gossett's gone. That was much tamer.
All of our guests are gone. We have no more Frankie here.
The lights are low.
I know. It's just
and
us.
All that's sitting in the room are a few cold beverages. Sketch and I.
Plenty of those to go.
And a list of questions from the readers.
This is a very historic podcast, so like you said, it goes as long as it needs to go.
Yeah, you were saying, before you even get to the readers, you were saying at the break just now, the faux break.
There's just so much stuff that we haven't even had a chance to talk about.
You haven't even dusted off the books and some of the stories that you need to tell.
There's so much crazy stuff that we've just been traveling, doing ridiculous amounts of PR and promotion. You were in the Big Apple for a week.
Yeah, I was in the Big Apple for a week, and it was... It's really eerie, actually. The room that we had for reviews was not a small room, but it was a room that accommodated 6 stations. Throughout the day, all the lights were off, so it was just me sitting in the corner watching these people play through the game.
And they all have headphones on, right?
They all have headphones on,
so quiet.
It's dead silent, so you want to sleep the whole time. But you can't, because you'll inevitably hear like the swearing of people, getting killed by brutes, gangbanged, I think is what Frank said earlier. Yeah. And you want to be there. And the other thing that's interesting, and I talked with Stephen Totillo from MTV about it a little bit, it's really interesting watching people play the game.
Yeah, how they approach it.
And seeing how they approach and solve the puzzles and problems.
Well, I told you our buddy Mr. Sark here, one of the guys that was here when I got back from my travels and picked up the tail end of the review event in the studio, had managed to find more skulls than I had. He had found some crazy tricks and shortcuts on maps. As he said, he finished the game once, hardcore and Blitzkrieg style, and then went back and played a high-impact Halo style. And just in the same amount of time as all the other journalists, this guy had done stuff that a lot of us haven't even done yet. So
was he pleased with the ability to still do those things?
I think so. I believe so. We talked a little bit about that, and I know a lot of the guys like glitchers and people that like making those types of films and pushing the game to its extremes. We'll probably find that there's a little more of that to go around than there was in Halo 2. In a good way. I'm not saying Halo 3 is full of issues and glitches, but for him, he was able to get up and do things in the Storm, for example, and get up on top of buildings that I didn't think was even possible. So,
and people often speculate that Bungie does that on purpose, but that's not really the case, is it?
Absolutely, it's a well-crafted, well-thought-out plan. No, I think a lot of it's just good old-fashioned. It's not a huge priority to go back and try to tighten up all those little loose ends. And what's the harm, right? It's fun.
Isn't it? I mean, I wish we had Butcher here. I think he's on one of those long vacations right now because Butcher often talks about how the Halo engine...
He's posing for a statue in New Zealand, right?
Yeah, Butcher talks about how the Halo engine, and these are his words, not mine, isn't really like a game engine as much as it's sort of like a simulation engine. I mean, a lot of the things that players are doing, obviously, I mean, the Spartan jumps higher than a human would, but the physical reaction that the player has with the environment is simulating real life in a way that it sort of lets Halo in multiplayer, absolutely, and definitely in single player, have a sort of like, if you think you can do it, you probably can figure out a way to do it.
If you can dream it, you can do it.
I was gonna say that, but I was like, I think that's like, does Streisand own that? It sounds like something like a Streisand or an Oprah quote.
I know it from Blades of Glory, but
that might be where I know it from. Yeah. That movie's amazing.
It was.
It's so good.
We had a lot of fun with I know you only had a couple reviewers at a time with you in New York, but Frank was here, and then I joined in later in the week. But we had like 10 guys here, and enough to get a big multiplayer bash going. Play a little sketch trap here and there.
I was really jealous of that part.
Rocky Race was like, that's the first time I've ever actually played the final variant with a big group of people. It was me and Frank on a team together. It was really fun.
I was really jealous of your review of it because the New York one was pretty campaign specific, because six stations isn't really enough to accommodate a multiplayer experience in the way that we want people to. So those reviewers will be playing the game a little bit early to test it out on live. But I would have wanted to come and just beat the crap out of the press, because there's no one in the press who's as good as I am at the game. It just doesn't exist. The Ziff Davis team, there's no one left. It's just, there's no competition. The hump days are going to be a lot of humping and a lot of tears from those guys.
I still predict that within a couple of days of launch, there'll be, when all the MLG guys and the really hardcore
those guys are definitely better than I am.
They'll destroy us. But
yeah, those
I'm
guys
looking
are way
forward to
better.
going in and watching their films and actually trying to steal some of their secret sauce.
Emulate the ogres? Yeah, I mean,
maybe. But prior to that, a few of us were down in Las Vegas, of all places, which was really nice, coming off the tail end of, we've talked about this, spending 10 hours a day in a parking lot in Leipzig, Germany, in a sweatbox tent, to being able to go to Las Vegas. And it was the weekend of the VMAs, so it was a crazy, crazy time. Literally,
crunk.
You couldn't even turn around the corner without bumping into a celebrity. It was, if you're into that, very exciting.
And you are.
Not so much.
You kind of like it.
My favorite part was just following Marty around, having to point out who people were and why they were famous and what they actually did or why they're known.
Or why they're
so out of touch.
Does he make disparaging remarks about people?
No, he's just like, oh, who's that? Why should I care? So, well, that's Little John. What does Little John do? Well, he is a rapper, and he sort of ushered in the crunk era. Oh, well, what's crunk? And then the discussion goes on from there.
Do you just make him go to Wikipedia on his phone or something?
No, I actually told him when I got back, I'd put together a little mixed CD for him. But, we were actually at Tal Beach Club. We had a couple things going on down there. First of all, on Friday night was a Halo 3 party that was thrown by Linkin Park, because Halo 3 was one of the sponsors of their whole tour, which has recently wrapped up, and they were in town for the VMAs. So we're at Tal Beach Club late on Friday night. We had 10 stations of Halo 3 playable and multiplayer, amidst probably 1,000 crazy people there, and Linkin Park came on stage and played at night. It was a really weird, wacky venue. People were actually into Halo as well, but there was just gamer fuel and vodka pouring out of ice sculptures, and it was pretty intense.
Sounds reasonably priced and affordable.
Absolutely. It
sounds like plenty of expenses were spared.
We got a lot of pre-orders out of that event. Yes. So that was like Friday night's event, and then Saturday we actually had to hang out at Tal Beach Club again, because we were in a cabana all day with a production crew from Comedy Central who happened to have a whole film crew there filming various personalities and celebrities playing Halo 3 and sort of getting together what they call interstitials of these people playing the game. So this guy, Bobby Lee, who's known from Mad TV, hilarious little Asian dude with the mohawk, he was there for the whole day, sort of the host of the event. And literally from about 11 a.m. until 7 p.m., we just had people coming through playing the game. And
a lot of Bungie podcast listeners out here, right?
I did, I'm surprised. Actually, it sounds glamorous. In fact, it really isn't, because we're standing behind a bunch of production people, and it's like 105 degrees outside, and we're in this cabana in the back doing all this stuff. And it was cool to see people come in. Some of them were actually legitimately hardcore fans. A few of them admittedly knew nothing about Halo. They just heard they were getting a free Xbox, so they showed up. Meanwhile, the Tao Beach Club area probably had like 1,000 people jammed into it, 100-degree heat. 99% of them were probably women in bikinis, so it was a really surreal sort of Halo Fan Fest environment. I'm not quite used to that type of scene.
Not a lot of Cortana costumes?
I didn't see a lot of cosplay. No, not so much. No, I really didn't. Xbox, turns out, sponsored Tao Beach Club for the whole month of September. So for literally the entire month, it's called the Xbox Oasis, and all the girls that work there wear white bathing suits that are Xbox branded, and across the back say "Got Game." And it turns out they're very skimpy, and none of them seem to be fitting very well.
Spare no expense.
I guess we can only get extra smalls apparently.
Can pony up for the. That's fine. That's cool.
But we had a lot of people come through. It was really cool for us to meet some folks, and I think whenever this special airs, which I heard is around the 22nd, 23rd, you may see Sketch and Aaron LeMay on there at one point or another. We were asked to evangelize a couple of game features and talk about it, but mostly it's had guys coming in, sitting down with Bobby Lee, playing the game for a few minutes, and then they would pick up their gift bag and leave. So for us, it was kind of cool. But I think we had, off the top of my head, we had Eve come by, and Little John, and Pharrell, who's a lot of people in the hip hop community were there, obviously.
Yeah, he's quite the producer, that Pharrell.
He was, yeah.
No, he is. I'm not being sarcastic at all. It sounds sarcastic, but he's actually like a super good producer.
Well, he's actually, turns out, he's a fan of Halo. He's very familiar with the franchise. He was happy to be there. And
did you get any awkward questions from? We didn't talk about this, but did you get any like awkward questions from celebrities who are like, "Yo, I really want to know what happens to Cortana"?
Not really. Everyone just said like, "How can I get a copy of the game right now? Like, I don't want to wait. I want to play this like today because I heard it's hot and I want to be the first person to play it." Was kind of the sentiment. But yeah, obviously we didn't have a game to give out. So
were you like, "Oh, too bad. There's like 150 people in Redmond who have already. Suck it down."
We did have this one dude show up that apparently plays for the LA Arena football team. And he came near the end of the day and heard there was Halo inside, and was really animated and ridiculously huge and cut, and was actually flexing while he yelled at us.
Was he raging?
He was. He was full-blown raging. And he said he's level 30 at Halo 2. And
that's a pretty accomplished rank,
actually. He's hardcore.
He probably would.
He said, "I'll be back in an hour, and there's not one person in this building that's going to stop me from getting my hands on Halo 3. You call all the bouncers, have them ready. I'll be back in an hour." So he did come back, and I think Lee Wilson gave him his business card and told him that he would follow up with him offline. So if you're listening, Mr. Football Player, it was a pleasure to meet you, and I'm sure your copy of Halo 3 will be there soon.
Days away.
It was just surreal, though, because you had this whole crowd there partying, getting drunk, and the heat, and then you had this whole Halo 3 vibe as well. And some people were into both. Some people were only there for alcohol, and other people were there
for the girl.
Just to, yeah, well, I wasn't going to say that, but
that's fine. I'll say it. I wasn't there.
I should put some of that on BNet, probably. I think our fans would get a kick out of that.
Yeah, I often wish that whenever I've gone on a trip, I don't actually have a good, like a Bungie quality digital camera. And I often wish that I do, because there's even just stuff like, I mean, if you can capture a moment, like two people playing co-op, like at the review event, watching N Guy and Steven play co-op, and like they have all these great, hilarious exchanges, and you can capture those on film. It's just another way to, and of course, Halo's in the background, and people can see something they might not have seen. It's just another way to show people what we are doing instead of just talking about it on this podcast all the time.
So honestly, as cool as that was, and kind of whatever, rubbing elbows with a couple celebrities and meeting some people, Monday was the coolest part for me, because Aaron and I stuck around and we attended the GameStop National Managers Conference.
Now I just want to stop you
there.
There
were no bikinis there.
This does not sound as awesome as you describing like an oasis of beautiful people, dancing, drinking, playing Halo. You're like described heaven, and then
true.
you're like, and then the best part was the GameStop Managers Conference.
Actually, for us, the reason that was cool was because we got there Sunday night. We had to push the build out that we brought onto a bunch of debug kits. So we were there late Sunday doing a bunch of setup. And we were in this little small room that had a little small stage and a little Halo banner. And I kind of thought that was it. Like, that was where the event was going to be. And I heard it was a big event and we were going to do a demo the next day. But I didn't quite put two and two together. So in my mind, this was it. And we had walked past like the Activision room that had like this massive big screen theater experience. And Aaron and I were talking afterwards. I'm like, dude, why is our experience so ghetto? This isn't cool. Well, it turns out that was nothing. That was actually retail training. We came back on Monday for the real deal, which is like the world's biggest ballroom I've ever seen in my life, which eventually would have over 4,000, close to 5,000 people in it. This is like every GameStop manager, regional.
Business casual.
It actually was. Yeah, it's funny. I got a memo on the way out saying, hey, FYI, the dress code for the GameStop thing is business casual. And what was my response to that?
I think it was Bungie doesn't do business casual.
Exactly. So we still showed up in our Bungie t-shirts and jeans, but I literally had to get up on stage, play through the game for a crowd of nearly 5,000. There was like 9 Jumbotrons in the room. We've done a lot of this PR stuff and a lot of demos, but never anything of that magnitude, and it was absolutely ridiculous.
Did you guys play co-op?
We did.
Did you have to carry him? I mean, I've played with Aaron before. It was nice
me.
Guy.
I was up in the front, sort of standing up front, having to play on a reference screen that was probably 20 feet away from the stage down the floor, so that made it very, very challenging. And then Aaron LeMay and then 2 of the Microsoft guys, Josh and Mikey, picked up players 3 and 4, and we played through a little bit of Savo Highway together in 4-player.
Were you on Team Elite?
I was Master Chief,
you're captain.
leading the charge. So.
That's correct.
But if you've never actually, blown something up, or what the best part was, after at one point Aaron died as the Arbiter and he respawned right in front of me and I smashed him down with my Warthog, and like 5,000 people erupting in laughter is just crazy. But after that was done, we kicked it over. I did a quick save film demo, and I can't even describe the experience of when I first paused it and went into flying cam on a massive explosion and did the whole Matrix pan around, and like 5,000 people gasped. That was pretty fucking awesome.
You said that you were nervous. This was like, you said in a mail internally that this was the most nervous you've been to play Halo.
It was. I started getting scared as we got closer and closer once I realized just how big and what the scope of this thing was. It was pretty intense.
When you guys were in like the closet, you didn't think it was going to be a big deal, but then you come out to the
once
big
I walk
stage,
out there, I'm like, whoa.
Like Princess Di's wedding was smaller than that.
It was intense, but these are guys that, we're thankful for because they're out there selling the game. And I think GameStop's leading the country with pre-orders right now. I mean, we actually owe a lot to these guys, and everyone that I met over the course of the night, because we stuck around and played multiplayer with like 500 of them from 8 to midnight, and I would say 99.9% of them were all huge fans, happy to be there. It was a cool thing for Bungie to get out and actually meet some of these guys in the trenches that are pushing Halo forward. So I'll give a shout out to GameStop and all the other retailers that work hard for us too. But it was a cool experience.
Cool. Well, that said, we've kind of caught up on Sketch Travel World, haven't we?
Well, I had one more trip that I went to Hotlanta for a day.
Oh,
Dirty South.
What was in the Dirty South?
Well, Microsoft put together a quick little shindig with a lot of prominent hip hop artists in the Atlanta region. It's a hotbed for music, and we went to Patchwork Studios, which is a really famous studio down there that all the major acts out of that area, from Outkast to Ludacris, have recorded their albums in that studio at some point or another. So it's a pretty big, iconic place. And
did you apologize to Miss Jackson?
I did not.
No?
I did not say. I did not tell Miss Jackson I'm sorry. But we hung out there, met a bunch of people. Little John was sort of the host of the event, and he was all crunked out. And I met his son, who's actually a really good Halo player. And I think the best of the bunch was this guy named Lil Scrappy, who was turned out as a really good player.
How good?
Okay, come on. Well, really good for that scene. Okay, he's not Luke good.
Okay, that was the main thing I want to know, because just whenever I go to these things, and when Jason Sudeikis, your boy, came by the New York event, and he came by pretty late one night, and he was like, "Well, I just want to see some multiplayer. I'm really into the multiplayer." So I fired up a few maps for him, and I figured we'd start off on Last Resort. Because, it's similar. The weapon setups are the same. And Jason's got a pretty good BR for a celebrity. they're busy guys. He's working on being funny.
I only saw him play against other celebs.
Yeah,
in which case he dominated.
He's big fish, small pond.
I'm not saying he's going to beat you his first time playing Halo 3 full game. All right.
No, but I mean we'll play him in a hump day.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it'll be good. I think that's enough.
That's a lot
star
of traveling.
humping.
Yeah, I know.
Jeez,
Drop a lot of names there. I just want to say big ups to Lil Jon. You heard? All right.
That was Brian O'Donnell dropping names, rhymes, and beats. And now we're gonna move along to a bunch of reader questions that I hope turn out okay. I don't know. First question. So Forge created maps can be combined with built-in Halo 3 game types, right?
True.
Which is One Flag CTF, Team Slayer, CTF Classic. So which will control the weapon placements? If you load up Team Slayer with default weapons on a Forge-made map, will the weapons, vehicles, spawn points, and everything refer back to the defaults, or will the Team Slayer settings only affect scoring? Leave the custom-placed items as they are. So what this is, I thought that this would be kind of a confusing one, so that's why I picked it. The Team Slayer settings are modified by the player traits. The player traits are exclusive of the Forge map variants. The map variant, which is the setup for the weapons on the map, will persist, and you can modify the player traits. So we could play Team Slayer on Rebound, and then you could download Rebound and play it with BR starts by modifying that in the player traits.
So the game type settings would trump the map settings.
But
if you pick default, it's the Rebound default, not the original Snowbound default.
Yeah, it's the Lucum's approved Rebound default.
Okay.
Hey Bungie, I wanted to know: are we gonna have save film of campaign? In multiplayer, we would just press X in the post-game Carnage report. How will this, meaning save films, work for campaigns? We have to end our session of campaign in order to get a film of it. Thanks.
Yeah, save films definitely work in campaign, but they're not like the beta this time because at the end of all your campaign or multiplayer games, it'll automatically appear in your recent films list. And from that point, you could elect to either hit X to save it to your hard drive permanently, or leave it there and eventually it's going to get overwritten.
So the way you'll navigate to that is by the lobby system, which is sort of the governing agent of navigation in Halo 3. At the top of your screen when you're in the campaign lobby or the custom games lobby, you can click switch lobby, go to the theater. Sketch is talking about clicking down to film. When you bring up film, it'll bring up a list, that recent films list, which will clear when you play another Xbox 360 game. It won't clear when you turn off your 360, but it's using, I believe it's using caching space.
Yep.
And once that cache is reset to be used for another game, your films will be lost. So you go there, save out what you want whenever your session's done. You don't have to end your session earlier or take a break from campaign to go save your games. You don't have to worry about that. We've sort of taken care of that. Next question. I have asked this many times, but get no response. I'm getting Halo 3 at midnight with my brother. If I play it in co-op, will I miss the first movie like I did in Halo 2? Nope. The co-op experience in Halo 3 changes a little bit. I can think of a couple of cool moments that I wouldn't want to miss out playing through the game the first time solo. But, ultimately, you're not going to miss anything from a cinematic. Not at all.
Nope.
Is it possible to unlock all the armor perms if you can't get Xbox Live and get the achievements from that? Can you just get them from campaign? With regards to the different armor permutations, what sort of things will be required to unlock them? If you're trying to keep this hush-hush, that's cool. I was just wondering if I was going to have to get a killing air with a plasma pistol while bouncing on the front of a ghost or some crazy blam like that.
Well, we definitely want to keep it kind of hush-hush.
You're not going to have to do anything like get a killing air with a plasma pistol standing on a ghost. You're going to unlock and acquire permutations through things that we expect a lot of players will do, and some of the things will be definitely targeted for more hardcore players. There's been talk recently that you cannot play ranked matches with your friends. The notion was sparked by an ad on the Xbox 360 dashboard brought to you info about Halo 3 and Xbox Live. It was a countdown in days. And this said, when playing ranked matches, you won't be able to invite people from your friends or players list.
Yeah, that's not true.
Yeah.
You can in like a Team Slayer ranked playlist, you can invite 3 buddies, form your party like you could in Halo 2, and then go in and play together. Now, you can't play against your friends because you don't get to control who your opponents are in a ranked game, but you can play with your friends provided that the playlist actually supports that. So if we're all together, 6-7 of us, we cannot join a free-for-all match ranked game, but we could join a free-for-all unranked social game.
Yep. And you can, and like we talked about with Chris here, those unranked social games in the matchmaking playlist have their own set of stat tracking, their own medal chests that are tracked on BNet. They're still tracking your per map statistics.
But they do contribute to your experience rating overall for your global online play.
Yep, absolutely. There's been talk. I play in widescreen on 1080i on my TV, and was wondering if split screen play with two people is divided horizontally or vertically, side by side.
My split screen experiences that I've played have been split horizontally.
Yeah, that's the same here. If it's vertical, that'll be something new and exciting and something that we don't know about. Can you give us a number of how many maps there will exactly be in Halo 3? And if you can't give us an exact number, can you give us a somewhat rounded number?
I would say by the time this podcast is heard, or at least by the end of this current week, we will have revealed, I believe, all the maps.
So
do the math yourself.
I was curious. We talked about this earlier with Marty. Yes, the Halo 3 original soundtrack will be available on iTunes, but not anywhere on, near, or around, or remotely close to September 25th.
That's true. It's at least weeks away.
We happened to talk about this earlier. If a dude watches the extra DVDs and the special versions of Halo 3 before playing the game, yes, you are at risk of major ginormous spoilers.
Yeah, just don't do it.
All you need to do when you get Halo 3, if you get the limited or the legendary, take out the disc that it plays in your Xbox 360 that's not the DVD, put that in, calibrate the audio video setup. As soon as that's done, move along, play the game. I was listening to the podcast from September 11th, and Paul Bertone was talking about skulls from Halo 2. He said, quote, "Skulls were crammed in the last minute and were only available on Legendary." By saying this, he led me to think that skulls would only be available in Heroic and Legendary. If they are usable on other difficulties, will the campaign scoring be affected? Okay, so the skulls the skulls exist in the game on every single difficulty level. You can find them on easy, you can find them on normal, you can find them on heroic, you can find them on legendary. However, the nine skulls that affect campaign scoring, you can only pick up and get and unlock if you're playing on normal or higher. Similarly, the way that the scoring actually works is you get a certain modifier for the difficulty level that you're playing on. So normal is like a 1.0 modifier, so it's not a modifier. If you're playing on easy, the modifier is a quarter, so you essentially get a quarter of the points that you're earning. And it scales up to, I think, 2 to heroic and 4 to legendary. So that's modifying your points per kill on an enemy. And then the skull modifier is also applying to that. So you're generating more multipliers, and the level of difficulty you're playing on is your base multiplier. It's really complicated.
Wow, nice work, though.
Thanks.
I tell you've studied that quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm working on the Luke Smith Skull Maximize Your Enjoyment of Skulls guide.
All right, well, I think we're about to run out of hard drive space on this epic recording.
Oh my God, it says 107 minutes.
Let alone the amount of bandwidth it'll take to serve this podcast, but hey, it's been fun.
Yeah, this is probably a 100 megger.
This is it, man. By the time this thing airs, we will be on retail Xbox Live, days away from the rest of the world playing. It's exciting times.
Yeah, it's been pretty neat to get and sit down and watch like the final months of Halo 3.
Absolutely. So it's not the end of the podcast. We will be back for sure after Halo 3 ships. Maybe not immediately, but you can expect to...
In the very shortly thereafter.
Yes, we will have a lot to talk about.
Tons to talk about coming up. And until then, send all your positive feedback to Brian and Frank. Download us at BungieNet, or if you like us even more than you like NPR, subscribe to us at the iTunes Music Store. And until whenever.
Soon.
We'll be back.
Later.
The Bungie Studios podcast is mixed and mastered by Steve Lopez, produced by Tom Giaconda and Chris Gossett, and hosted by Brian Gerard, Frank O'Connor, Luke Smith, and Bungie Studios.